in the first trip to an intermediate with a new car and a new championship to unfold. We head to the home of NASCAR for the first of many tests in a short but chaotic championship run. We're live from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. We welcome you to the Monday Night Racing Summer Series presented by Mach10 Digital as we kick off the Gen 4 Series with the Next Level Racing 250. Welcome to our coverage on Podium Esports. We're alongside Darren Denman in the booth. My name is Kenneth Bueno. Ryan Bauer, our producer, all evening long. He's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Darren, for the first time in at least a week, we had our chance to sort of relax after the chaos that was Daytona with the next-gen cars and Super Speedway Series, but now we get to do something completely different. These Gen 4 cars have a lot of power to the rear wheels. They're very tough to drive. You've got a mile and a half like Charlotte. You're going to have a huge challenge on your hands for this second series and championship to unravel.
Yeah, absolutely, Kenneth. If this was real racing, those guys still would be fixing their cars from last week's Demolition Derby down at Daytona. But thankfully, we pulled the Twisted Sisters out of the virtual garage, and we are going to just walk them all over the just jewel of the South tonight here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's going to be a great race tonight. A lot of slipping and sliding going on, a lot of throttle control with the big horsepower packages, and we're looking forward to a great race tonight. Hopefully a lot cleaner race than we saw last week.
Slipping and sliding is part of what makes driving these Gen 4 cars so much fun. Now, we talked about Daytona with the next-gen cars. That's a part of the Super Speedway schedule. Don't get it confused. We're going to have another championship on the docket with the Gen 4 cars, all going to be at the intermediate / 2-mile tracks when you count in Auto Club Speedway. And Darren, I mean, we talked about the variety of Monday Night Racing as a whole, but each and every week, you've got a changing combination of cars and tracks. You've got Super Speedway Racing, which has its own set of strategies, its own set of rules. And then you have slipping and sliding, saving tires, Gen 4 racing at these mostly mile-and-a-half tracks. And tonight, June 26th, the start of that championship at Charlotte. So it's somewhat of a big twist, but for these drivers, does it really matter for them making this change?
I mean, everyone has their own skill sets, right, Kenneth? So you can practice up and get good at, whipping that Gen 4 car around here at Charlotte. But it's a testament to these guys and how talented they are on these sims. They can hop from back and forth. They're the Kyle Larsons, we'll say, of sim racing, being able to hop back and forth between these cars and tracks and different skill sets that are required to be competitive. And last week, of course, was a crapshoot with the high-speed demolition derby that was Daytona. But we're looking for a lot more car control, and we're looking for that cream to rise to the top tonight. Probably see a couple different names on top of the board at the end of the night than we did last week.
And we might also see a lot of strategy open things up as well. That's something we did not see at Daytona last week in the Super Speedway Series. You're looking overhead at the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. That's where we're racing tonight, out in Concord, North Carolina. Track opened back in 1960, and it's a 1.5-mile track there, and then treats itself differently compared to a lot of the other intermediates that we'll see in this schedule for Gen 4, but also across the iRacing service as a whole. It's a very narrow 1.5-mile track, and it has its own set of hurdles that you have to overcome as a driver, no matter what you drive on it.
Yeah, and absolutely, Kenneth. We, Charlotte was really the first of the cookie-cutter racetracks. They've tried to replicate Charlotte down in Texas and, just a couple other places with that 1.5-mile layout. But Charlotte is very much a unique racetrack, and it's a home track, too, for a lot of these guys. Even though we are in the virtual world, a lot of these guys are still based out of that Charlotte metro area. So a win is a win is a win if it comes in at home, and they're just a little bit sweeter when you are able to pick one up at Charlotte.
Also, fun fact, this is the third time that Monday Night Racing ever goes to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We've been here twice before, once in Season 1, and then the most recent time in Season 5 where Corey Heim won the most recent race. Here's our race analysis for tonight's Next Level Racing 250 from Charlotte Motor Speedway. We go either 167 laps or 2 hours. It depends on which one comes first, whether we ended on lap or we ended on time. Darren, that's going to be a big format change for these guys, but everything mostly is going to be the same. 3 green, white, checkered attempts if we need them, no fast repairs given to the drivers, and 100% max fuel, which again, should open up the strategy books quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely, Kenneth. And I think that those fast repairs really came into play last week, and a lot of guys were maybe a little bit more aggressive last week down in Daytona with that fast repair. Different setup here at Charlotte, though, with the mile and a half, and you're kind of going to be able to choose your own destiny, for lack of a better term, without the pack racing going on here at Charlotte. But again, with the slipping and sliding that goes on with these cars, we might not see the big one as we saw several of last week, but you still could get caught up in somebody else's mess, and you're going to have to play that strategy game as best you can to set yourself up for success, stay in clean air, and keep those tires under you at the end of the night.
Well, hopefully we don't see that much carnage here from Charlotte Motor Speedway. Now, one thing that is also different from tonight's race at Charlotte versus last week's race on the Super Speedway side at Daytona is that we do have broadcasted qualifying, so you'll get to see the drivers put in their fast lap, but also we're going to be running a format where the drivers are going to be put in a certain order. They're going to run their laps, and we'll have everything for you, so you'll know who's got the pole and who's everywhere else. But they're going to have everybody in this session, have drivers one by one go out onto the racetrack. It will be set by reverse from practice speed, so whoever gets the fastest time in practice, Darren, is going to be last on qualifying. Whoever's dead last in practice gets to go first in qualifying. So you're seeing one of the cars out on the grid right now trying to get out their laps, and that is the number 20 of Joseph Gregory. One lap, though, to get a lap in, and that's a lot of pressure.
Absolutely a lot of pressure, and a great format this week that we're able to watch qualifying and giving these guys some much needed streaming time. I know last week we pretty much went live right at the green flag, so best we could do was mention some of those guys way back at the pack when we were starting over 40 cars last week. So it's great to see these guys getting some TV time here on Monday Night Racing.
You'll see the strategy that Joseph Gregory employs here before he gets to lap number 1. So out of turn 4, use the high side to get some of that extra momentum and get some extra miles an hour before he crosses the line. This is the lap that he's officially going to put in. So race control will be watching. He's way up in the track in 1 and 2. But Darren, that's something that we might see from these Gen 4 cars. You can make a lot of time up on the outside lane in turns 1 and 2. It's not quite the same in 3 and 4, but I mean, that's the magic of having a track like Charlotte, having cars like these, is that you sort of get to experiment with your lines a little bit as Gregory gets a little loose. Out of 4, we'll see what lap he puts in this time by. Gregory finished 30th on the first Super Speedway race at Daytona, 31.212. He sets the tone for the rest of the field. This here's Dakota Curtis.
And you see him sideways already, did we, with Gregory on that opening, well, coming to the checkers on his qualifying run. But again, we've been talking about it all night long. These guys are sideways in qualifying. These cars are going to be dancing around. They're trimmed out right now for qualifying. Everything's fresh. Imagine how slipping and sliding this track is going to be later in the evening.
Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun to see them go around, especially in race trim when everybody's around them. So Dakota Curtis going in for his first lap. And Curtis going to try to beat that 31.212 set by Joseph Gregory. And we do have some new graphics there on the bottom end of your screen. So on the left side there, you see Dakota Curtis on the tower. That's his current lap. Then you see Joseph Gregory's name. That's the pole speed and who set it. And then the driver on the right is the driver on track setting their lap. So off turn 4, Curtis with a good run out of the last corner. This should be it by a mile and a half. 30.599. That puts him to the top.
Great lap. And you see these guys when they're going out on the track, they are setting up their opening lap is just throwaway lap, as we always see, as Rabilis gets sideways. He's going to throw away both laps, it looks like. See if he can collect it up here on his fast lap, the second lap of his qualifying run. Well, he walked it sideways. That's the second out of 3 cars we've seen sideways coming out of 3 and 4, and we've only had 3 cars on the track.
And Rabilis running the middle in turns 1 and 2. Rabilis came home in the 14th place spot at Daytona last Monday night. Gonna look for some better luck here this evening. We'll try to get the bottom, but actually we'll take the middle in 3 and 4. So Darren, talk us through the difference in lines you could take here at Charlotte and how you can keep that momentum up. I mean, it's very different from a next-gen car. You've got way more power. You don't have as much downforce as Rabilis sets a 31 points. That will be a 3.25, so that'll be 3rd on his lap time.
Yeah, despite that throwaway, turning it sideways, coming to the line to take the green on his qualifying lap, a great recovery there. But With the different lines, it's been explained to me as I was a child that if you are up high on the racetrack, you're able to go faster generally, but you're going to have to go a further distance. However, if you're down low, you're going to cover a shorter distance, but you are going to have to go a little bit slower. So that's the balance that we're seeing out of a lot of these guys. That's what was explained to me when I was probably 12 years old, and I've always held that true. Try to pass that along to everybody else out there. And of course, the middle is going to split the difference. I would think that a lot of these guys would like to be down low, that fast, short, quick way around, the short way around the racetrack here in qualifying, but it seems like a lot of guys aren't able to hold it down here through the first handful of qualifiers.
But it looks like the 95, Dylan Connolly, puts in the fastest time. That's a 30.492, so almost a full tenth, if not a full tenth faster than Dakota Curtis's lap time. Here's league owner Ford Martin, faced a disqualification from last week's race, but is looking for a decent finish tonight from the home of NASCAR. And Martin was recently out at the Nashville Super Speedway as part of the NASCAR weekend there a couple of days ago. And Martin will come out of turn 4 on the front straightaway. Will this lap be faster than the one set by Connolly? You bet. 30.253, Darren. That's a heater.
Yeah, that was a clean lap. I actually can't believe it was faster. That's probably the cleanest lap, obviously, that we've seen so far. But Ford really held a pretty line on that lap. And he's sitting on the provisional pole at this point through 5 qualifiers with Michael Massey out of frontstretch.com on the track right now for his fast lap.
Well, hey, here's one of our members of the Front Stretch post-race show that we see every post-race on Monday Night Racing broadcasts. And the 27 will actually somewhat be a lane and a half off the bottom in turns 1 and 2. And we'll try to pick things up in turns 3 and 4. Ford Martin has the fastest time, 30.254. Can Massey best it into the final corners? He still is a little bit high off of the blue and white pavement and gets into the outside wall. So I think this lap might just be invalidated. Massey sliding across the line, and that lap will not work, but bends it into the tire barriers. And next up, Steve Alfont in the 54 behind the wall Chevrolet.
Yeah, and again, I think over half these guys right now, as we see Alfont just a little bit sideways coming out of 4 right there too. It's going to be a challenge tonight, especially when we get all these cars out on the track. We saw it there even with Michael Massey, just couldn't hold that pretty line down there on the blue line as Steve Alfont sideways. Is he going to sit? So just dancing on the backstretch here at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
That's the fun of driving Gen 4 cars. You're going to get sideways, and you're going to have a whale of a time trying to save it, but that's going to chop off a lot of time that Alfont could have gained on current pole sitter Ford Martin. Bailey Turner out on track. We'll talk about him in a little bit, but the 54 crosses the line. His official time, 30.418, so that will be faster than the number 95. Rather, that will be actually the slowest out of everybody. I thought it said 30, but that's a 32, so that's slower than everybody out on track. Bailey Turner in the 5 car next up on the docket.
Yeah, Bailey Turner had a great run going late last week. He really had a great run throughout Daytona last Monday night. Had my eye on him all night long in that jet black, that Monte Carlo he had last week. This week he's got a new livery with Kellogg's and Got Milk on the hood of that thing. Looking good, although the line, he's just not holding it down on the bottom right now. We'll see what his time is going to be, though, as he comes to the stripe.
Crosses the line, and that is
pole.
Fast.
Provisional pole.
30 flat. So Bailey Turner, it looked a little unsettling on his lap, and that is quick. He's to the top of the charts, as here's Brett Baldick next.
Brett Baldick's up right now, but sometimes those squirrely-looking laps can be fast, as Bailey Turner just proved. Let's see what Brett Baldick can do, though. Very similar line, it looks like, that what Bailey Turner just laid down. A little bit high coming out of the corner, though, as he thought he was going to scrape the wall there. Looks like he's able to pull it down low, though, on the backstretch into 3. Again, he's trying to pull it down to that blue line, but again, running middle of the racetrack right there, and just fighting. Looks like he's sawing on that wheel coming out of 4 to the line, and he's going to cross it, and not on the pole. Bailey Turner maintains the pole through the first, what are we through, 8 on qualifying? Brett Baldick lining up second, though, with a 30.2.
Yeah, really good lap by the Ford, despite what it looked like, as here's the next car on line, Matthew Kent. He did get into the outside wall, so it looks like it's not qualifying his time officially, but this should be an out lap. We'll officially get confirmation. We did have the 19 car next up to go behind this 31. That is Francis Pelletier, so he's already going up through the gears. He just came out of pit road. But watch this 31 and Matthew Ken as he comes out of the final corner. We'll see if he can best anyone around him in the top 8 that have already set a time. The 31 across the line, and that is a 30.395. So that should be good enough, Darren, to get him to 4th, as here is Francis Pelletier out on track. Pelletier did run at Daytona, finished 27th, and looking for a good run tonight with Subway on his car.
Love these new liveries that these guys are bringing this week. They look really good, and what looks like a Carl Edwards tribute there, if I'm looking at it right. Let's see how Pelletier does down through 1. And I keep discouraging these guys from drifting up the track, but it seems like as they drift up, they're getting faster and faster. So as long as they're keeping it out of the wall and they're keeping it straight, those fast qualifying times keep coming through for these guys.
Well, the thing I want to see, Darren, is how low each driver gets when you get to the more competitive drivers, those who have been, masters of MNR, and some of the titans that we've talked about, guys like a Presley Sora or like a Corey Heim or any of those guys. I think we'll have sort of a arms race for that bottom, because there's something about that blue and white line at the bottom of the track that you can gain so much momentum off of, and you can get a lot of speed, a lot of grip on the left side tires. Hold that car. But I mean, Darren, I know I can't really talk about it. I'm a terrible driver overall in the sim. I'm not that great with this Gen 4 cars either. As the 19 car comes out of turn 4, Pelletier puts in a time, going for 4th into the wall. Sonic.
And he just lost it, overcorrected on the recovery, and nosed it right into the wall. So his qualifying time, whatever he was going to have, is going to be disallowed. But hard hit right there. Thankfully, we're in the virtual world, because that would have been a serious impact and a serious bill for the car owner on that one.
That's a monstrous hit. But even worse, Darren, for the 41, he's not going to get a qualifying time in. He's going to be further back in the field if other drivers end up with him with invalid qualifying times. For the 41, that's going to hurt quite a bit. Here is last week's winner at Daytona, James Bigford for Charlotte Phoenix.
And what a win.
His first lap.
What a win last week. It was a marathon down at Daytona, but James Bickford with the last, 100 feet pass for the win last week. Just an incredible drive by him. Let's see if we can back it up. And now we're starting to get into these drivers that we know can win. And we see him holding that blue line down on the bottom. This should be a real good lap for him coming to the stripe.
We'll see what he can put down as he comes across the line. 30.044 fastest, and that topples Bailey Turner's time. Bigford 2P1.
Real good looking lap out of Bigford on that one. Is now Taylor Burris out on the track. It's going to be a tough lap to beat right now, as everyone's hovering right around that 30.0 mark. It's going to take a 29-second lap to get on the pole at this point, and that's the competition that we see on Monday Night Racing. Great racing here already tonight. We're still in qualifying, guys.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of good stuff, and it shows you, Darren, a possible preview of what we're to expect in this race, as Taylor Burris a little loose out of turn 2, but he's going to come in for his time. The Kart Chaser sponsored Chevrolet as he comes into turns 3 and 4. We'll just see how these guys handle the car by themselves and how much that will change when you've got a bunch of cars around you, Darren. I can imagine guys are going to be tiptoeing all over the place. The last thing they want to do is spin their car around. Decent lap by Taylor Burris, 30.147. That's going to put him 3rd, Darren.
And we talked about, and again, all night long, about these guys and the cars as they're dancing around, as we see Colin Fern on track. But we've seen about half the guys get sideways on their lap. But when we're in full race mode, one guy gets sideways, that stacks the next guy up behind him, and the next thing we know, we're crashing. So I say that all to say we should be in for a very exciting race coming up in 15 minutes or so.
We should be as soon as we wrap up qualifying, but this is fun to watch. The 96 of Colin Fern. He was in the broadcast booth last week at Daytona. Now he's traded the headset for the steering wheel, and as he puts in a time, that is the best we've seen by far.
There we go.
The first driver to break the 29-second bracket.
29.9 for Colin Fern. Great lap for him. It's good to see him back in the booth, or back on the track out of the booth after last week. But exciting to see an exciting guy qualifying well here at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Fern, the owner of FRS Racing, a team in the Xfinity Series. This here is Landon Polinsky, rookie driver in the 28 machine, came home 31st. 15 laps down at Daytona. Not the greatest race for him, but again, a lot of the guys who did not end up in a great result at Daytona, they're going to look for some better results here tonight. That's a great qualifying effort for Polinsky, 30.051, and that will put him third ahead of Bailey Turner and right behind James Bickford. So no doubt about it, the 28 has some speed, but here comes Season 5 champion Presley Sora for his qualifying lap.
I'm always impressed with Presley Sora after the win in last summer's championship. It's great to see this kid back. Great to see this kid turning laps. I follow him on social media. He's getting some actual seat time there in the Indiana area. So we'll see how he cranks down this lap in this Toyota Camry as he's coming to the line.
And as he crosses the stripe, 30.057, so they're going to be a little slower than Polinsky's time in the 28 car. That should put the 98 machine in fourth, as here's Matt Alverson in the 6 car, bright yellow and blue car that he's got tonight. I believe those are Toyota Supra decals, Darren. I love the fact that we can see these Gen 4 cars that sort of open up creativity, and it's the same with the ARCA cars. Even before this Gen 4 was introduced to iRacing, the fact that you can put any decals on it, you can represent any brand you want. I've seen a Renault put on these cars before. It's pretty cool.
I love it. I love it. It's great seeing just good-looking race cars out there. And, you know, these guys take it serious. I know it is the virtual world. If you're tuning in for the first time to watch these drivers do battle virtually, it is very serious. Just the time that it takes to get one of these wraps on these cars, it's really cool to see the effort that goes into an event like Monday Night Racing and just the entire sim community in general.
Yeah, it's really awesome to see the creativity and trading paints. Got to thank the people there and all the members of the community that put out hilarious and great looking paints out there. We just saw Alverson put in his time. That's good enough for 7th at a 30.184. And here is Ray Richer in the 57. The first time, Darren, we see Richer out here on Monday Night Racing competition. So good to see some new drivers enter the fold. We got his camera on the bottom right. He crosses the stripe, 30.372, a little bit faster than the likes of Matthew Kent in the 31. So he puts himself in what appears to be 11th. As here's Rocky Hartpence out on the speedway.
Another great-looking race car, great-looking number on that car for Hartpence. Maybe a little Country Time Lemonade throwback attempt there, but maybe we'll see. It looks like he blew the headlights off of it already, or the headlight decal. So he's cranking that fast that it doesn't have headlight decals on it. It's incredible.
No, it doesn't, but it can still be fast. Hartpence comes across the line, 30.326, and the no headlights car comes in a decent spot. That should put him around. That actually is 10th, so he steals that away from the 57 of Ray Richer. We're seeing a lot of guys sort of file out through the mid pack. Here's another car without headlights. Zach Cortez in the 02.
Very much a James Finch like throwback. A lot of people might not get that reference, but Finch ran a lot of those cars for many years without factory support, didn't put the headlight decals on. It was his thing, to be honest, and every time I see a car like that, I'm like, reminds me of the old man James Finch. As Mertz coming through 3 and 4 right now. It looks like he drifts up a little bit by design, coming to the stripe on what will be an exceptionally fast lap. He's not going to be on the pole, but he's going to be second at this point. Zach Mertz, great lap.
Behind Colin Fern, 29.979. Zachary Mertez to second, as here's Gary Sexton in the number 13 machine. And boy, was he a showstopper, Darren, last week at Daytona. He was all over the place.
Close.
Through the pack, 3 wide, 2 wide, outside, inside, middle, you name it. He was everywhere. And he's been preparing a little bit for tonight's race from Charlotte. We'll see what he can do in turns 3 and 4.
He's got those driving gloves on already as he is hugging that blue line. That's what I like to see personally. Drifts up a little bit, coming out of 4 at the stripe. This should be an incredible lap for Gary. He's only going to clock in at a 30.1 though, so maybe not what I was expecting out of that line that he took, but he's still going to be in the top 10, lining up 7th at this point in provisional qualifying.
Well, not a bad lap from Sexton at all in the 13 machine, as here is Max Kennan in the number 21. This is the first time we see him in this MNR Summer Series presented by Mach10 Digital. Kennan has 2 MNR wins in his career, one with the street stocks at Rockingham, his most recent, the dirt street stocks at Eldora. And Kenan has seen a lot of success in the regular Pro Series, but he's ripping the Gen 4s tonight. And again, Darren, talk about that arms race to the bottom. We're seeing more and more drivers get down there, paint the line on the bottom, and as Kenan crosses the stripe, that is a 30.042. So that makes him, I think, the upteenth driver, Darren, to be in the low 30s, but that's good enough for third.
Yeah, what are we looking at? About 5 drivers with a 30.0 on the clock right now is Art Reimer on the track in the 49 car. But, you know, again, we keep talking about these guys, and we want them down low on that blue line, but you got to go where your car wants to go. You got to go where your car is going to be fast. We think that it should be down on that blue line, but Colin Fern's setting the fast pace right now. He was not hugging that blue line as closely as we've seen a couple of these other guys. So if you're down low and you're binding your car up, it's not going to do you any favors. As Reimer took a little bit of a midline, and he's going to come to the stripe with a 30.0 again. Going to be lining up provisionally right now in 7th. Great, nice little run there for Reimer.
And that's faster than the 30.090 set by Bailey Turner in the 5. So a good qualifying effort for the 49 of Art Reimer. As here's Davey Hazard, the 75 car out on track, rookie in this Gen 4 MNR series. The first time we see him this season was not a part of the race at Daytona, I don't believe. So this is the first time we see Hazard out on track. Pretty tidy looking turns 1 and 2. But let's talk about the actual format, Darren, of qualifying. With these cars in particular, they are so easy to get loose, so easy to get out of control, that really the momentum that you're building on that first lap comes from your exit right out of pit road. These drivers don't use the apron, a pit road exit technically, in race trim for the qualifying effort. This is Mario Miranda looking for a time. 30.045 set by Hazard, by the way. That puts him 5th. But, I mean, we'll talk about the way that you have to get up through the gears, how you have to smoothly transition this car to a very quick lap.
Yeah, to transition it to a very quick lap. I think we just have to talk about, again, like, you have to go where your car kind of wants to go. We talked about just before we segued into this, you can't get down too low and have your car bind up. It's going to slow down your lap, as we're seeing right there out of the 89 as he's coming to the stripe. Good lap for him on the board. That's going to be fastest right now.
Fastest, better than Colin Fern, 29.875. Put him to the top. Mario Miranda, the Tulsa, Oklahoma native, he immediately jumps to the top as here's the 55. Ronnie Osmer, one of the standout rookie drivers from last season of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series. We saw him a couple of months ago ripping with the MNR guys week to week. He's going to be on the outside of turns 1 and 2. Miranda just came fresh off of a Sunoco Cup Series win last night. If you watch any of the broadcasts on Podium Esports, you watch the Sunoco Cup Series, you'll know that name quite well. Miranda, in his first MNR start, will be at the top of the board. We'll see if anybody can get better than his 29.875. Osmer comes out of turn 4, crosses the line, and Darren, that's a good lap too. 29.892, that's second.
Great lap for Osmer there. Love watching, love his setup. I love how high his wheel is on his rig. Great looking lap, and you could see him working that wheel, sawing it back and forth. Great lap right there, though, for Osmer, as DJ Cummins is now on track.
Guess what, Darren?
Talk to me, Goose.
We're now in the bread and butter of qualifying. We're going to get to the big hitters, guys like Chase Cabry, Corey Heim. You're looking at Brandon Hoff, who was fastest in practice, Matt Stallneck, and here DJ Cummings in the 10 car. So we're getting to the big hitters, as here's Cummings, a little loose out of 4. Is this lap good enough for the top 10? It is barely out of it. 30.090. That's the same as Bailey Turner. I guess they're going to be scrapping for 10th and 11th.
They were scrapping last week in Daytona, as we've got Nick Olson now in the cleanest race car I've ever seen in my entire. There are numbers on that car. If you look real close, you can see the 24 and the sponsors ghosted out. But Nick Olson maybe dropping some weight with the lack of logos and trying to get a fast lap.
Nick Olson with the cleanest no decal car I've ever seen in my life. He says, forget logos. I'm just going to be as fast as possible. Looks like he just got it out of the shop, not in the pit booth. But that's fastest. 29.870.
There we go. There we go. We got the contingency sponsor stickers on there to pay the bills and just leave everything else off and clean. Save that weight and take it right to the pole. Hey, I don't care what it looks like. If it's sitting on the pole, that's my favorite car.
Oh, what a lap by Nick Olson in the 24. As here's Chase Cabry two-time winner in the Monday Night Racing Pro Series and really was a outstanding driver last season in his rookie campaign. Made it all the way to the Championship 4 at Homestead of Miami Speedway. He has a win with this car, this model, but not the Gen 4 specific physics applied to this car. He won with the ARCA machines at Twin Ring Motegi. That was his first win of Season 6. He comes out of Turn 4, and we'll see if it's better than Olsen. 29.790. Yes, sir. Chase Cabry to P1.
Boy, and it looked like he slid it coming out of the 4, just drifted up the track with it. But again, I keep referring to, you got to let the car do what the car wants to do. If the car wants to drift out to the wall, and that's the fastest way, do it. And it just took Chase Cabry to the pole. As now Corey Heim, another pole threat on the track, heading down the back stretch at 190 miles an hour.
Here's the man everybody's been eyeing, the defending winner here at Charlotte in MNR, the previous MNR Pro Series champion, winner at Homestead of Miami on February 13th of this year. Cross of the stripe, 29.746, and we are at an absolute melee for P1, Corey Heim to provisional pole. As here's Cole Cabry next.
Here we go with Cole Cabry now in the 51, a little Days of Thunder. Rowdy throwback, a little bit right there with the 51 on the side. These guys keep ranking down these laps. We talked about the bread and butter as Cabry gets a little sideways coming out of 2. That's probably going to be just the mistake that's needed to keep Corey Heim on the pole right now. But let's see as we watch Cabry go through 3 and 4. He's hugging that white line once again as he comes out of 4, drifts up high, come to the line, and he is in with a 29.8. 29.8. It's going to line him up top 5, top 3.
Yeah,
great run right there from Cabry.
As here's the last car. Winner of practice, Brandon Houff in the 9. As he's going to come into turns 1 and 2, the Grit Esports car. I love this throwback. Going all the way to Casey Kane's McDonald's Dodge, but just with Grit on each and every side of the race car. And I've noticed, Darren, these cars are getting more stable as we've stepped up the drivers through this qualifying order. We've got really clean laps and very stable race cars. That's what you need to be fast here at Charlotte. Houff is loose, so out of 4. That's going to scrub off a lot of time. And as he comes across the line, that is 30.144, so not a bad lap. But Darren, that's going to put him beneath the top 15.
Man, and I know the rest of the field didn't want to see it, but Corey Heim sitting on the pole at this point. He'll be taking the green flag from the pole. What a great race for him, and what a great position for him to be starting from tonight. The rest of the field better be on watch. Corey Heim's fast tonight.
Corey Heim, Chase Cabry, Cole Cabry, your top 3. Heim with the best lap of them all at a 29.746. Darren, the first time we cover single lap qualifying, but I'm going to love this format for the rest of the season. I can't wait till we get out to Chicagoland and have them rip around that very bumpy and abrasive 1.5 mile circuit. But from what you've noticed, Darren, what was the biggest thing you took out from qualifying, and how could you somehow implement that come race time, wherever your track position may be?
I think that it kind of went as expected, right? The fast guys went out late, had great runs. We saw the guys that went out early that maybe aren't as experienced get pretty squirrely in their cars. That would be where I would be watching if I was making strategy, to know that these guys had trouble in qualifying, and cautions may abound later on this evening, especially with those guys in the back of the pack still learning to keep their tires under them, keep the car straight. We had, 3 or 4 cars in the wall during qualifying, so that's one of the beauties about Monday Night Racing, though. If you go to the racetrack, the actual racetrack, you're going to see race car drivers. Here on Monday Night Racing, you see race car drivers, but you also see a lot of guys just associated with the sport that love racing, and they might not have the expertise that a lot of guys do, as we now see Mike Clay on the track in the 88.
Well, Mike Clay had some connectivity issues, so they are letting him run his qualifying time. And he'll get the top in turns 1 and 2, so this is going to be his official first and only lap here. So at least he gets to set a time before we get things settled here from Charlotte Motor Speedway and get all of them together for the green flag. That's way up the racetrack in turns 1 and 2. He went right for the bottom. It darted up the track. Can he pick it up in 3 and 4?
Man, a car that pretty, I'll make an exception for that car to run anytime I get to see that. Does not look like it's going to be a great lap here for Mike Clay. I think Corey Heim is still safe on the pole, but we'll wait another couple seconds to make it official. Yeah,
Mike
there we
Clay
go.
coming across the line, 30.758. So that will be 29th on the board. So he'll steal that away from Joseph Gregory at a 31.212. So that keeps Corey Heim at the top of the board. And Paul Sutton, race control, decides, yes, sir, that's everybody. We've had everyone qualify. It's now time to advance the session, and we will hit the track and get things started for tonight's Next Level Racing 250. Now, let's talk again about this Gen 4 car, how hard it is. But before we do that, let's get you through your starting grid for tonight's race in the first event of the Gen 4 series here from Charlotte Motor Speedway. Corey Heim, the defending champion of MNR, goes to the top of the board at a 29.746. Chase Cabry, Championship 4 driver from last season, will be right alongside him. Those two will be the first to see the green flag in row number 1. The other Cabry, Cole Cabry in the 51, is third with a 29.811. It will be Nick Olsen for Grit Esports. In the 24 car, P4 is where he will be. Rookie driver Mario Miranda in the 89 car will be inside the top 5. And rookie from last season of the MNR Pro Series, Ronnie Osmer, will be on his outside in P6. Then those two doubled up in row number 4, the 96 of Colin Fern for FRS Racing, and Zachary Mertes with a great qualifying effort puts him 8th. And then come the final two drivers inside our top 10, Darren Max Kennan in the 21, and last week's winner, the 29 of James Bickford.
Well, these guys with great starting position as we continue through the top 10. Davey Hazard coming off in 11th, and Landon Polinsky starting 12th. Back in row number 7, we're going to have row number 7. We are going to have a couple other guys. Presley Sora, last summer's defending champion, and Art Reimer in the 49. Back in row 8. Looking at DJ Cummings and Bailey Turner. Both had great runs last week. Both tangled on the backstretch late. Looking for a rebound this week. Row 9, Gary Sexton out of New Shore, Pennsylvania. And Brandon Houth in the 9, fastest in practice. Row 10, rounding out the teams. Taylor Burris in the 45 and Matt Alverson in the 6.
Then comes the number 4 car of Brett Baldank. He'll be P21. Ford Martin in the 07 car will be in P22. That'll be Francis Pelletier in the 19 in 23rd. Rocky Hardpants in 24th. Ray Richer in the 57 car is 25th. Matthew Kent looking for a rebound after Daytona. He starts tonight in 26th place. Dylan Connolly in the number 95 is 27th. Dakota Curtis in the number 23 car is 28th place. Mike Clay in the 88 car will be 29th. He was the last driver to put a time in qualifying. He'll be flanked by Joseph Gregory to round out the top 30. Then it goes Mark Ribillis in the number 99 car, man out of Glendale, Arizona, and Steve Alfont in the 32 machine. Matt Stolnick in the number 41 car out of Syracuse, New York. He will be 33rd. Adam Boyles is 34th. And rounding out your 35 car field, the 27 of Michael Massey. We had some guys near the rear of the field. Boyle, Stolnick, and Massey have incidents on their qualifying lap, so that's why it was marked invalid. Now, Darren, let's talk about this race analysis one more time. Very different from Daytona. We are going laps versus time here. We either go 167 laps or we go 2 hours. That's where we will end this race, no matter what comes first.
Yeah, and after last week, I think that's a little bit of a relief, that 2-hour time limit. I actually don't think that that's going to come into play tonight. As much as we saw car control be an issue in qualifying, I think these guys are going to lock it down. We have a much smaller field than we did last week in Daytona, and I think the guys are going to be on lockdown tonight, and we are going to have we're at least going to have some stretches of green flag racing that we did not see in Daytona last week, but that's just the nature of the beast coming here at Charlotte.
And let's refresh ourselves about this Gen 4 car. It was recently introduced into the iRacing service when it was a mistake by staff. They put those physics in that car on a build or a patch, and everybody tried it. They absolutely loved it. iRacing said, okay, we're going to listen to the driver base. We'll have this car officially on the sim, and we'll let you rip out with approximately, I'd say, 900 horsepower, Darren, below the hood.
I love it.
It's a lot of power. It's a really tough car to drive.
And I mean, and and again, people coming in and watching this, they're like, oh, these guys are playing a video game, but it is so realistic. You feel that 900 horsepower when you're standing on the throttle. You can feel the tires start to break. It's really impressive what these guys can do and what they're going to do tonight for your viewing pleasure with that, let's call it 900 horsepower to be just clean under the hood of these virtual race cars.
Now this could
like
be somewhat tailored to the Xfinity Series cars with the amount of power and some of the looseness it has behind the wheel. Corey Heim and Chase Cabre take him out of turn 4, will bring us to green in the first race of the MNR Summer Series presented by Mach10 Digital Gen 4 Series. And we've got a problem early on. Nick Olson gets unsettled before turn 1, but we're underway in the Next Level Racing 250.
Looks like the guys are trying to get it sorted out. Side-by-side racing there right about 5th position. Looks like we're going to get them clean down the backstretch though into 3 and 4.
Everybody's being as careful as they can be with these race cars. Last thing you want to do is trash the machine early. And we mentioned on our race analysis, no fast repairs given to the driver. So you have to be at utmost awareness as a couple of drivers hit the outside wall before turn 1. Nick Olson appears to be one of the only ones bearing the high side in that white Chevy, but everyone else wrapping the bottom. Corey Heim comfortable out front.
And we see Ronnie Alsmer in that great sim setup he has with that high-looking wheel that he's holding pretty right now. Running 7th right now, trying to get the pass on Mertes. Coming out of 4, great racing already coming to the stripe.
Side by side for that 6th spot, Mertes in the 0-2, 55 of Osmer, and Osmer takes that position away. We saw some great things out of Ronnie Osmer last season. His first ever campaign in the Monday Night Racing Pro Series. Boy, he did some great things out on track. Had some really good finishes, and while he was not able to pick up the win, he really showed out. And as he comes into this summer series, he'll be looking
for the lead.
More people wrong, as here comes the battle for the lead. There's a look at Presley Sora on the high side of Ronnie Osmer. Appears to take that spot away. Presley up into the 6th place position, but you mentioned it, Darren. Chase Cabre tried to look at Corey Heim for the lead, but look how much he backed up there. What's his approach here as he tries to catch up to the 11?
Well, it looks like he's getting a run out of 2 down the backstretch. He washed high, got the momentum, and looks like he's going to hold a pretty wheel into 3. Dipping down low against the NASCAR truck driver, Corey Heim, and he takes the lead here on lap number 4. Great move by Cabre.
Great pass by Cabre. He moves into the 1st place position now. Not to be confused with Cole Cabre. Relatives, they're both related. Cole Cabre back in 4th. Miranda has taken over the 3rd place position. Here's a look on board with the number 51 machine. As Cabre stays single file with everybody else, it appears that's been the motive for most of the guys up front. We are still watching the tussle for P6 that's still going on, and might have a tertiary car join the mix. Remember, Mertes lost that fight against Osmer for the spot. Presley Sora is playing defense up high. The Cambridge City, Indiana native, staying up there. And here's a look on board from Olson, who was running the top to start this race. Now to the inside.
Yeah, the boys were racy early tonight. I thought they'd be willing to just feel their equipment out and settle into a nice long green run here, which I guess they're trying to do is stay green. But the way these cars are dancing around this early on, it's not too long before we might be seeing a caution as these great drivers are putting on a show for you tonight here in the virtual world.
So you'd expect, Darren, that over these first couple of laps, drivers would not want to go side by side. They'd want to all be single file and run as cleanly as they can. But right now, they're not afraid to go for position, and it seems to be working. We had a pass for 2nd complete. How about Mario Miranda moving up ahead of Corey Heim? That's a professional NASCAR driver. He just got ahead. Miranda as a young teenager going through the middle in 3 and 4, and now looking on Chase Cabre. In his first ever MNR start, over 7 laps, he does not look phased.
Yeah, and you know, Corey Heim, I thought he was going to have this race on lock here early on, as I mentioned after qualifying. Starting on the pole, he's fallen back to 3rd. Maybe he's just saving his stuff right now. We're still absolutely early on in this ball game. But Corey Heim falling back to 3rd as the Cabre boys are both in the top 5 at this point.
And And let's talk about tire saving. I mean, these cars, Gen 4, they have a lot of power on the rear wheels. No doubt about it, you're going to get loose if you overstep just a little bit on the throttle. But how do you try and properly save tires with this car? Is it a matter of running the line? Is it a matter of smooth throttle input? What do you try to do here if you're a guy like, let's say, Gary Sexton or someone in the midfield to save tire and sort of progress on the long run when it kicks in?
I mean, I'm a smooth throttle type of guy. You just got to think about that egg being under your foot, trying not to break it, pressing down easy, not hammering down in the corners, especially if we're expecting the long run here early in the going as Corey Haim continues to feel pressure from behind from Colin Ferd. You know, Colin did call his shot last week. He said he was going to win this race as he's working on Corey Haim here for third in the early going. Ronnie Osmer to his outside.
Osmer looking for 2 positions in about 1 corner and a half. He's going to get the 96. He'll try to get around the 11 on board with Osmer. Nice look at his sim rig there on the bottom right. He's way up on the racetrack in 3 and 4. I think one of the first drivers we see that close to the wall, but it's going to work for that 55. He gets the move out of 4 as here comes Miranda on the inside for the lead, and I imagine that the 11 of Haim is just playing it patient. First caution out, though. Some men in trouble, and 1 car hard into the outside wall as it looks like Mark Billis, Matt Alverson, and Mike Clay.
Looked like Alverson was an early one around there as we get the replay here, Kenneth. Ford Martin looking low. Alverson, no one's really near him. At this point, he's just going to hit that apron, wash up, lose a lot of momentum. Ford gets into the back of him, and it's on from there. See Brent Baldick not being able to sneak through there, but just a racing incident there as he got onto the apron and just woed up way too much for Ford to avoid.
And it's an easy mistake that can cost you so much time, and when you've got a pack of cars behind you like that, it's really tough for those guys back there to check up in time, and just got into the rear end of the 6th car of Alverson. And that's another thing that we'll discuss with these Gen 4 cars. I mean, they're exact same build as the ARCA cars that are already on the iRacing service, and that means, Darren, that these bumpers don't align. If you get into the back bumper of somebody, you are going to lift their rear tires off the ground and spin them in a full 360, and that's what the 07 did to the 6 car, and you see some of the others that get collected in it. Mike Clay in his car, the 4 Brett Baldeck, and then the 99 of Rabillas looks like he got a piece of it. Went for the inside grass. Here's a look from Clay. That's tough.
I'm not driving it, but there is another pedal in those cars. You can hit that brake pedal, and maybe even if you have to, spin it down to the inside. But Mike Clay getting wrapped up into that. So big caution. What did we involve into that? About 5-7 cars here in the early going, and no fast repairs tonight. So those virtual pit crew guys going to have to do a little work here in the early going from Charlotte.
And we'll see if anyone decides to come in, barring those that already picked up damage. Probably a little too early to really get strategy fully into play. I mean, these guys were just in the middle of tire saving run, so they're probably going to stay out on track and want that position as much as possible. Quick reminder that tonight's Next Level Racing 250 from the Charlotte Motor Speedway is brought to you by Next Level Racing. Next Level Racing is proud to partner with MNR, and founded in 2009, Next Level Racing is the world's leading simulation brand, revolutionizing simulation racing with its industry-leading product range. You can go over to nextlevelracing.com for more information and to learn more. So Miranda in the lead of this race, got the run out of the corner, got around Chase Cabry, and so the Oklahoma driver out in front. Cabry second, Osmer third. Haim has dropped back to fourth, but Darren, like I said, with a guy like Haim, if you watch him enough on the iRacing service, and maybe you've been in real life, you'll see that he's a very good tire saver. He knows how to pace himself early on in a run, keep himself out of trouble, and then when you get to 15 laps in a run, 20 laps, 25, 30 laps, that's when you see Haim at his most dangerous.
Absolutely, and the great racers are like that, right? You gotta be patient. I mean, this is not a quick race. This is 167 laps, 250 miles at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So patience is going to be the name of the game here in the early going. Of course, we're going to have some attrition. Of course, we're going to have some cautions, and how they fall is really going to determine, a lot of how this race plays out, obviously. But Corey Heim doing the smart thing, in my opinion, and maybe just falling back a little bit and saving tires for later on in this run, and to set himself up for success later on in the evening. I saw a sign at the dirt track over the weekend: you can't win the race on the first lap, you can't win the race in the first 14 laps, but if you have tires that you've saved throughout the race and that set you up for success, you can all build up for winning that race on the last lap, the one that matters. Matt Stolnick, we see him sitting at the sim right now, had a little trouble in qualifying. He's moving up through the field, though, with the attrition.
And he got into the outside wall, Darren, if you remember, overcorrected it out of 2, just absolutely tore down that safer barrier on the back straightaway. So his lap was invalidated, and he is up to 20th. What a job by the 41 machine of Stolnick. He's on the apron right now, just presumably saving a bit of his car, maybe saving some fuel on the way there, but great moves by Stolnick early on. And I want to also say, Darren, about a guy like Corey Heim and the statements that you just brought out, there's also that famous line that you can't win the race on the first corner, which is something that a lot of iRacing drivers say and then immediately crash in turn 1. But nonetheless, I mean, it's sort of fun to see it. That's what I immediately thought of. I don't know why.
And I mean, you can't win the race 3 wide when you're running 27th, but we tried it last week consistently all night long. So at least we made it through the first 12 laps or so tonight before we have a little caution. And honestly, it was a racing deal. It wasn't really an aggressive caution like we saw a lot of last week, as we see a smattering of our sim drivers at their rigs in their homes. That's the best part that I think about sim racing, Kenneth. When you go to the racetrack, you're at the racetrack and you're enjoying it, and it's a great event. But I'm enjoying just hanging out watching this tonight. I've got my dog at my feet, and that's the most important part. And we're having a good time, as all these guys are out here tonight.
It's been a lot of fun so far, not only for the drivers on track, but for us in the broadcast booth. We've seen some great racing so far. And again, let's remind the viewers, no faster pairs in this race. And we're seeing just how differently these drivers are attacking their traffic around them, just based on the fact that they cannot trash their car. They have an entire race to run. They've got a long way to go. We've seen a lot of aggression, though, no doubt about it. I was expecting less. We've seen a good amount of it. We'll see what Mario Morenda can do to hold off the aggression by everyone else behind him. Out of turn 4, pace cars down. We continue the next level racing 250 from Charlotte Motor Speedway. And the restart discretion up to the 89 car. Morenda jumps out ahead. We're back under green as Chase Cabry holds on a second. Corey Heim and Ronnie Osmer making the duel happen for third into turn 1.
Well, they fit out pretty good going into 1 right there, as we've got a battle for the lead going down the backstretch already. Oh, no, we don't. They fell back in line. Cabry fell back in line, but he's inching closer going into 3. Looking to the outside. Does Cabry go? He's got the momentum up top. Let's see if he can make it stick. Coming out of 4 at the line. It's going to be Cabry at the line leading that lap. Great run by him.
Cabry immediately strikes back on Morenda, takes the lead away, drifts up in the middle of 1 and 2, but so far the Tampa, Florida native has control of the next level racing 250. Heim looking for a battle, this time with Colin Fern. And it turns 3 and 4. Fern will dive down low, and he wants that track position. But it was an interesting move there, Darren, by the leader Cabry to get around that 89 car. You see, he didn't use the bottom. He went right to the top to make that pass. Is that what you might have to do? Because you're fearing that if you go to the bottom, you get pinched down there and you can't make the pass?
Well, you got to go where they're not, right? Like, if you want that lead and he's on the bottom, you're either going to have to move him, which you probably shouldn't do this early on in the event, or you're going to go to the outside if you've got the momentum. If you can't do either of those, or you don't want to do either of those, just ride. Be content to ride in second. Obviously, Cabry was not there, and he's in the lead right now, pulling away 0.3 of a second. He's picked up already in that first lap that he's had clean air.
And here's the battle building up for 4th. Corey Heim still under fire. It looks like he is employing that tire saving strategy, just maintaining it from here on out. Mertez is going to get the run out of the corner. Presley Sora getting help from Nick Olsen. Never mind, Olsen's going to dart to the inside. As Sora, you look on board with the Season 5 champion. And there's the Grit Esports car on the bottom. And boy, the 24 got loose, had to check up, and that slowed down Cole Cabry, who was really backed up on the outside of the racetrack. He started inside the top 3. He's fallen back to the clutches of the back half of the top 10. There's a look at Cabry right behind Olsen and Osmer on the bottom.
And you know, Corey Heim, we keep watching him maybe slip through the field just a little bit here. He hasn't really slipped through the field. He's only down running 5th at this point. But there's a balancing act when you are saving your tires. You can't fall too far back and have the freshest tires because you're just not going to be able to make up the ground. So Corey Heim right now, trust him, trust his judgment, but he's falling back maybe a little bit further than I'd like to see him fall, as we got sparks off some of the cars going into 1.
We saw a car almost tank slapping into the wall. That was Davey Hazard in the 75 car. He's side by side with the Grit Esports car of Brandon Hauf. We continue to watch side-by-side action. Zachary Mertez still pressuring the number 11 of Corey Heim. Bailey Turner in the 5 car on the bottom. We've seen some great stuff out of Turner in MNR history. His first campaign back in, I believe it was season 5, and then has kept it going. He's been a solid driver. Still yet to capture a championship or a couple of wins to his credit, but Turner doing the best that he can in 14th as it speaks. Car on the wall, Buddy Osmer. Oh, and that's going to be tough. I mean, this car gets sucked into the wall if you get in there, and all of a sudden, poof, track position's gone.
Running so well early on, falls back to 17th, under threat to fall out of the top 20 at this point. Osmer with a great run, running top 5 before that initial caution, and tough break for the 55.
55 drops through the field. He's 18th as it stands, side by side for position number 3. Mertez trying to attack on Miranda, who's going to give him the space out of turn 4. And there's a nice look at Nick Olsen. Had a chance to meet him at the Carolina Esports Hub last year in 2022 when we wrapped up season 5 of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series. Really nice guy, and Olsen was trying to set up his rig at the time. Really cool to see all the drivers there at Charlotte on that night, bringing the entire MNR community together in one single place. Olsen, though, gets a bit of the outside wall as he tries to attack on Miranda for what's going to be 4th. And let's talk about the difference in the front of the field so far, Darren, versus everyone else. You're looking at this main pack, a lot of these guys side by side, fighting for position, really comfortable where they're standing. But then you look at guys further back through the field. You look at maybe drivers like a Ray Richer, who's back in 26. They're all single file. None of them are fighting each other. Is that a reflection, Darren, of just how comfortable those guys are up front?
Yeah, I think so. It's just a skill level type thing, right, Kenneth? Like we saw that even last week when we would have a several lap run in between the cautions. There was distinct skill levels in the packs that we were seeing, and while we're probably not going to see the those distinguished packs tonight between the really expert guys and the mediocre guys and the guys that are in their first start here at Charlotte, just due to the nature of the track, we are going to see the cream rise to the top. All those names in the top 10 right now are names that I think any of us would have put money on to be there at the onset of the evening. So yeah, it's a skill level thing. We talked about that earlier too, Kenneth. We've got guys from different walks of life, different age groups, demographics, etc. on the track here tonight that maybe don't race against each other every week, or maybe have never raced against each other. So they're just trying to feel themselves out here on Monday Night Racing. And again, you're not going to win them all, but you can have a great time and have a great experience, and just don't be the drama that we saw last week at Daytona, and you'll gain a lot of respect from your competitors here on Monday Night Racing.
Oh, that's true. As rookie drivers, there's nothing better than competing against some of the real-world drivers out on the speedways you watch each and every weekend. And for all the motorsports members in general, to race against them, boy, it's a lot of fun. I remember talking with fellow commentator and racer in the MNR series, Devin Henry, and he says one of his favorite sim racing memories, Darren, was racing in this series against Bobby Labonte at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He says that's one of his favorite memories because it's just so cool, because you're a guy in Monday Night Racing, you get to compete against some of your favorite drivers or some people that you maybe look up to in the motorsports industry, and that's so cool. There's nothing that really can replace that. 100%.
Absolutely, and like that's what's so unique about sim racing and racing in general. Like you can compete against your idols. I mean, I even do it on the local level around where I'm at. To go up and shake the guy's hand after you've beat him in a race that you've been idolizing for 20 years, like that's a really cool thing that racers get to experience. And while the physical handshake might not be a thing after a sim race, to say you've walked away from, beating a Colin Fern or beating a Corey Heim or even just being on the same track as them is something really cool that is facilitated through sim racing.
And there's also that real world element too, right? You think of when you get to know these guys at MNR, when you race against them every weekend, if you go to a racetrack, if you're in the same area as these guys, you can go out and meet them. I remember I was out in Daytona. I got to shake hands with Ford Martin. I met a lot of guys from Monday Night Racing, and David Schildhouse, one of them, and I talked to a lot of guys out at the Speedway. So it's so cool, that sort of coalition in MNR, the community built up there, and how awesome it is translating from SimWorld to real life. Car on the wall and around in front of the field, that's Mario Miranda in the 89 car. He zacks up Davey. Looks like Davey Hazard, and Miranda's upside down on his lid.
Oh, wow. I'm going to have to see the replay out of that. He was running, top 3 at this point? I think he was running 3rd, and he's on his lid and out of the event.
Oh, and he got hit by Corey Heim in the middle of 3 and 4. Here's a look at it. So Miranda in that black and orange. Looks like Toyota for the decals. Gets hit by Corey Heim. It just goes up into the wall. But right here, Davey gets into him in the 75. He gets a ride, and so does the 89 car. He gets slammed by the 22, it appears. That's Adam Hoyles who goes sliding into him. Here's a look from Miranda, and this camera is going to go bye-bye on the roof, because right here, T-bone hit, and right there, up and over he goes.
And a lot of the favorites wrapped up in that one. Corey Heim, Miranda, just incredible. Doesn't even look like he drifted up or lost speed, got loose. It looks like Corey Heim just got into him, maybe had a little bit better of a run getting into the corner. And the next thing you know, he's on his lid in 4 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. What a tough break for those guys.
Big hit for the 89 of Miranda, who appears to be out of this race. We talk about, again, no fast repairs here in this series, so you really got to be mindful of your race car. Miranda might not be able to continue. Leaders on pit road, Heim, Cabry, and the rest coming in. We'll take a short break, but you will not miss a thing of the Next Level Racing 250 for the Monday Night Racing Summer Series, presented by Mach10 Digital.
FrontStretch.com, providing up-to-date news, analysis, and commentary on all the latest in the world of motorsports. Check out Front Stretch YouTube page for post-race content after the checker flag waves for most NASCAR events, giving you up-close interviews with your favorite drivers and the stories that matter each weekend. For the best seat of the track and the best view on the web, visit FrontStretch.com.
Mach10. Let's give Mach10.
You're cleared for takeoff.
Welcome back to coverage of the Next Level Racing 250, the first race of the Monday Night Racing Summer Series Gen 4 competition. All of this presented by Mach10 Digital, your partner for stunning video production and digital marketing solutions. From concept to creation, we bring your vision to life with precision and creativity. Elevate your brand with captivating visuals and impactful messaging. And from weddings to real estate videography, contact them today at Mach10digital.com for digital excellence. Mach10 Digital, where innovation meets creativity. Kenneth Bueno, Darren Denman here in the broadcast booth on Podium Esports, and we talk about change of the lead. Well, now it's in the hands of Colin Fern. Got the P1 spot away on pit road after our most recent caution. Fresh tires on the basis of everyone in the field. Fern up and away. We're back under green. And Darren, this is going to be big after our longest green flag run of the night.
He gone. That Colin Fern. Oh, we got one sideways already. Sideways into one is Max Kennan in the 21. The old RCR Busch Series throwback, Holiday Inn throwback, but it looks like we're going to stay green as Colin Fern continues to maintain the lead as Cabry's looking down to the outside coming out of 4.
Cabry is going to stick his nose there on the outside, bringing Brown and Howe ends into the top 4 for the first time all race long. We're still door-to-door for the lead. Cabry through the middle. He's got himself clear of the 96, and Cabry holds on to the spot on the outside. But here comes the other Cabry, Cole Cabry to the outside for second.
Man, what a run the Cabry guys have on the outside. They had the momentum up top, and they just stormed to the lead. Stormed to the lead in second place, but they've got the top 2 positions on lockdown right now as they're gapping the field a little bit. Chase Cabry now in the lead by 0.2 of a second over Cole Cabry.
He wants to pull away, but it looks like the other Cabry and Cole is not really going to let him. Top 2 have opened things up from them, and then third on back, which is starting to build up just a little bit. Colin Fern right in front of Nick Olson. Then there's James Bigford, Brandon Haupt, and how about Matt Stallnick in the 41? We talk about his start progression through the field after starting 33rd. He is up inside the top 10, battling with his teammate DJ Cummings for that 8th place spot. So really good stuff out of the 41. And it just shows you, Darren, that the qualifying time was not reflective of Stallnick's overall speed. He's kept that Ford car clean. He's been pretty decent with racing everybody around him and very courteous. And that has allowed him to just move up to the field little by little until he's where he is now.
Yeah, running top 10 at this point as... well, I don't know what's going on with Colin Fern. He's dropping back. Took the green flag out front here to start this green flag run, but he has dropped back to the 5th position and still under fire from the guys behind him.
Yeah, he lost those 2 spots to Zachary Mertez and Nick Olson, so Fern might just be saving his stuff. He's going to let everybody go around, though, and hopefully it doesn't really bite him in the back by the time we get a run in, because he's going to have more cars to beat when he has the better rubber near the end of this stint. But we don't know exactly how long this will last. But he's in a scuffle. There's Brandon Haupt, Ronnie Osmer, both of them side by side for 7th. Caution out, and a big crash on the front straightaway. Second car upside down this evening. It's Michael Massey.
Oh, Michael Massey, he's been having a rough night. Hit the wall in qualifying. He's on his lid right now. And I see him spinning the tires on the roof. At least we know he's fine and not hurt in the virtual sim world as he just... Well, that was oh, man. Wow.
Mike Clay storming into the incident, and up and over goes the 27. And Darren, talk us through this incident. Very different from some of the others we've seen tonight. It looks like Massey just tried to avoid getting into the wall, chased it down the track, getting loose.
Yeah, it looked like he was innocent, but I thought the wreck was going to start with him getting a little bit loose, but he chased the car. It was a Mike Skinner that got punted like that at, I think it was Charlotte a handful of years ago in the truck series, where another truck just drove right under him, and that's what happens there. But again, they get stacking up here. And there is another pedal in these cars, guys. It's a brake pedal, but at that speed, at that point, the closer rate's just so much, and there's nothing you can do at that point. Ford Martin in it, a lot of good cars ripped up there. I see Gary Sexton spinning around. A big incident here on the front stretch at Digital Charlotte Motor Speedway.
So here's a look at Massey. Right there, that car steps out. He does not want to hit the wall. That's minimal contact with Ford Martin, but when you're going upwards of 180 miles an hour, I mean, that minimal contact is going to result in a big incident. And as he gets absolutely sent from the rear, the 27 goes up and over. I'm not sure, Darren, that we should pull out the flip counter now, but the fact that we've seen 2 in the span of the last, I'd say, 20 laps or so might just make me do it. I'm going to be honest.
I mean, I don't think we had 1 over at Daytona last week, did we? And that's where you would expect to see everybody on their lid. But yeah, let's not do that, Kenneth. But interesting little segment we had there, a green flag run. Let's talk about the action away from the drama in the back of the pack, and the Cabri boys really running away from that, setting a precedent, storming to the lead around Colin Fern, who's dropped now back to 5th. But the Cabri boys and those black racers looking real good out front tonight. Nice run for them here early in the going.
Make that the dynamic duo. The Cabris putting in a lot of work early on. Corey Heim, by the way, out on pit road, got into the 89 of Mario Miranda, hence why he's got the damage. Let's bring in Mario Miranda, rookie driver here in the MNR Summer Series presented by Mach10 Digital. Mario, I know, tough break for you. You ended up on your lid after the incident there on the caution flag. Just first of all, walk us through what happened from your eyes behind the wheel.
Yeah, honestly, I don't really know. I was taking the corner like I usually do. I was going in that corner. I was wanting to experiment with the middle line because I saw Chase doing it earlier, and I thought it would kill his tires. But after, a couple of laps, he kept pulling away, and his tires never fell off. So I was thinking to myself that might be the line to go. So I just went to the middle, and I think he wanted to go to the middle too. But he was behind me. He didn't have any clear advantage, and I just felt like he just ran right into the back of me. And the way with how low the noses are and how high the rear ends are, it's just so easy to get spun.
It was a tough incident there for you where you get sent around, and obviously not much you can do from there. But you put in such a great qualifying time. You ran up front. You got around a lot of heavy hitters in the Monday Night Racing Pro Series that have been around for a little while. In your first MNR start, just give us the experience and how you feel knowing that you had a lot of speed to keep up with those guys.
Yeah, I feel pretty good. Qualifying went better than I thought, or actually kind of where I thought I would be placed. Maybe low in the top 10, maybe near the top 5. And I'm glad I got a top 5 qualifying spot there. And on the initial restart, I found myself in 4th, and then capitalized on a couple of mistakes of the guys in front of me. Found myself in 2nd, and even found myself in the lead at one point. So yeah, it was fun leading the field for a little bit. I wish I fought a little bit harder to stay up front, but I really had no idea how the tires were gonna be like. But super glad and thankful that I'm in this series, and I got a little bit of the experience of the Monday Night Racing scene, and yeah, so looking forward to the next race.
A race-ending crash early, but nonetheless a lot of promise. Mario, we certainly appreciate the time. We hope to see you next time we run MNR, whether it's the Super Speedway Series or the Gen 4 Series, and we'll see you actually in a couple of weeks when we get to the Sunoco Cup Series at Atlanta, so we'll see you then.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So that's Mario Miranda, rookie driver, who ends up in a early incident with Corey Heim, gets flipped over. He is out of tonight's race from Charlotte. Green flag back in the air, by the way, in the Next Level Racing 250. Battle for second. Nick Olson. Darren had a really good run on Cole Cabri. Could not officially get down there before that spot, but here comes Cole looking under Chase for the lead.
Well, you think the Cabri boys might just want to ride that out a little bit tonight, but they are battling for the lead here in the early going at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Just really good stuff out of the Cabri brothers, and I was not expecting to go into a whole entire Cabri monologue where we can just say Cabri, now under Cabri, Cabri trying to defend from Cabri when you're trying to identify which Cabri is Cabri, but still, they're going to settle things out. Cole going to the outside for the lead. Nick Olson getting a big run in turns 1 and 2, and if you're Nick Olson here, Darren, how do you push this? You've got 2 drivers side by side. I can imagine patience has to be at the utmost importance right now.
Yeah, you just got to pray for patience here and wait for that line to open up, as it looks like it's happening right now for Nick Olson, as he's going to look low coming out of 4 on Cole Cabri, but no, just tucks back in the line. Good racing, smart racing here from the leaders at Virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway, as again, Nick Olson looking low on the Cabris.
And what we noticed, Darren, out of Nick Olson was that he was one of the best drivers on the long run. He did not have a chance at the race leaders, that's for sure, but he did strike to Colin Fern, almost got a pass underneath him before we had that caution come out. So if there's one thing that we've taken note of from this Grit Esports Chevrolet is that he's got a lot of speed on the race car, and I know that there's a Grit Esports scheme on trading paints on iRacing right now that I'm looking at on my sim. You don't see the scheme exactly on his car, so it looks like he's got no decals, but I guess the no decals means extra horsepower for Olson.
Yeah, that's what we talked about. The car's slicker, it's smoother, it's lighter, it's faster with no decals. So that's what we're dealing with tonight. At least that's the story that we're going to go with.
And I think we just got word. Cole Cabri was leading this race ahead of Chase Cabry, and out of turn 2, took the car to the bottom underneath the apron. Here he is, heading for pit road. So what happened to
wow. I don't know. I don't know if this is a strategy move or a tire going down or what, but a really strange situation for the leader here at Charlotte.
Well, that is bizarre. And for the 51 car of Cole Cabry, he disconnects from the server, so he is out of tonight's Next Level Racing 250 from Charlotte. We're going to have to officially get confirmation on why that is, but that moves Chase Cabry to the front of the field. Olsen takes over second, James Bickford to third, Zachary Mertez fourth, and Brandon Half inside the top 5. And take a look at the drivers we're looking at inside our top 5 right now, Darren. 2 of them started 10th or worse. Bickford started 10th. 18th is where Brandon Half began tonight's race, so we've seen a lot of good moves forward in the field for both of those guys. And here's a look at Half in P5.
Man, an incredible change of events right there as we're coming up on just a third of the way through the race, but now only one Cabry at the front of the field has to hold off the rest of the field. And like you were saying, some great names that we've often seen. Ronnie Osmer, again, we're visiting him in his sim with that great Days of Thunder poster on the wall. Great racing for him, and despite him scraping the wall earlier on in the evening, he's still holding a pretty wheel now in 6th.
He's doing really good right now, and that's exactly where he started tonight's race, so consistency being key. And that goes the same for Colin Fern, which I'm surprised, Aaron, we have not seen more out of in this run. That last long green flag stint, that 96 was aggressive. He was inside, outside, you name it, all over the racetrack and passing everyone like if they were standing still. Fern is now a little sluggish, but I can imagine it's probably tire saving, and it's going to be at priority for him, but we're not entirely sure.
Yeah, man, I don't know. He's fallen almost 2 seconds back at this point. He just has not had the stuff that he had early on in this run after he got tires. I don't know if they made some bad adjustments on that car during that pit stop or what, but Colin Fern steadily falling back through the field. Not the direction we expected out of our guest commentator from last week, who did call his shot. As now we got a battle of the lead going into 3, coming out of 4. As Nick Olsen is just trying to eke out a fender on Chase Cabry. Coming to the line, though, Olsen looks like he's going to lead that lap by a nose.
Olsen is trying to get there. He goes to the inside still on that 39 car, but Cabry's going to fight back on the outside of turn 2. That's a favorable position when you're that car on the outside, Darren. You can pinch the guy down low. Cabry using that to his advantage, and James Bickford is just waiting for his chance to strike. You look at Nick Olsen's history here at Charlotte. Last time we were here was with the Xfinity cars back in season number 4 or 5, I believe it was 5, and that we ran the Xfinity cars here. Olsen came home where, Darren? Second place behind Corey Heim by 0.3 of a second. Olsen knows what it's like to be fast here.
And now with Corey Heim having his issues in that collision earlier in the race, it could open the door, but the door is not going to open easily as the boys are battling up front side by side again, lap after lap here at Virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. And again, the guy in the catbird seat in all of this, James Bickford, right there in 3rd place, just biding his time right now, probably saving his tires just a little bit better than these 2 guys running side by side for 1st and 2nd. And I wouldn't be surprised to see James Bickford pull a move here and take both these guys to the lead.
Yeah, you're right. As they're side by side and pressuring each other for that first spot, they're going to be wasting their tires, no doubt about it. Bickford can just hang back and say, oh, I like this battle up front. I'll just stay where I'm at, run my line, be consistent, and sooner than later, I'm going to take over one of these positions, whether it's second or whether it's the lead. Cabry's going to keep his foot in it. He's still on the outside. They're going to approach lap traffic here in the form of Mike Clay, the 88 machine. He's got some heavy front end damage, so how do the leaders propose this pass around the lap car? Well, they don't even have to do the work, so it looks like Clay's going to move to the apron, courteous of him to let the leaders by. And Zachary Mertez, Ronnie Osmer go at it for 5th. We're seeing many drivers starting to accordion here, Darren. It's been a lot of fun.
It's been a great race, a lot of green flag racing tonight, a couple really serious looking cautions as they battle for the lead continues. What a great event, though, as Cabry looking low on Olsen in 1, and he might have the advantage if Nick Olsen can't hold the momentum up top. but it looks like he will coming out at 2 down the backstretch.
Oh, it looked like a crossover there. Olsen just said, I'll take the top. Cabri, you take the bottom. They're doing a little bit of a square dance here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, but Olsen takes over the lead. Cabri turns him around in turn 4, collecting James Bickford, and that's a caution, no doubt, from Charlotte. The leaders, Tango, at lap number 57.
And Colin Fern involved in that too. All the names that we've been saying all night long. Wrecked out on the front stretch at Charlotte in this one. Let's see what the replay says. Cabri just a little bit aggressive. Oh no, it looks like Olsen might have slowed down a little bit. No, I don't know if I can defend that.
Well, Olsen just had a decent corner, but Cabri had a better run out
had a better corner.
Yeah, but he didn't move. He just stayed where he was. And again, we talk about these bumpers of these cars, Gen 4, they do not align. Once you get into the rear end of somebody, you lift their tires off the ground, you spin them around. And that's exactly what Cabri did to the 24, spun him sideways. And most unfortunate, and that caught the 29 off guard. Brandon Houff had to split through the middle, almost damaged for what appeared to be DJ Cummings. I think Colin Fern went for a spin.
Fern was around too,
and here's
yeah.
everybody, the leaders on pit road.
Well, we're taking tires at this point and packing these things full of fuel as we're just at the 1/3 mark of this race. Boy, but the field is thinning though, Kenneth.
Yeah,
some great race cars out of this one already. Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of attrition here at Charlotte, but I'd say a little less than Daytona by far. We've seen a lot of long.
Oh, absolutely. And the cautions that we're seeing tonight and the incidents that we're seeing tonight, I feel are maybe a little bit aggressive, but they're racing incidents, right? Like last week at Daytona, we were just seeing a lot of guys, maybe a lack of inexperience, maybe just not knowing you should just run when you're running 35th and 3 wide. You know, all these incidents tonight, just really racing incidences. As you know, 3 and 4 were really the problem area all night long too, into the dogleg at Charlotte. We've seen multiple cautions coming out of 4, coming to the stripe into the dogleg tonight. And it'll probably continue to be a problem area all night long as the field thins itself out.
I feel
no
like
fast repairs tonight.
Yeah, no fast repairs. I was gonna say, I think we're seeing a bit of reverse attrition, which is a little odd because Corey Heim, pretty good in this race, top 5, top 3. He got moved to the back of the field with that incident, collecting Mario Miranda, who was also at the front of the field, got taken out. And then Chase Cabri's running second. He gets damaged. Nick Olsen is leading.
Yeah.
He gets damaged. So all of a sudden, the leaders who are the heavy hitters in this race are falling like flies one by one by one, and we're getting different race leaders. Cole Cabri, too, out of nowhere, led the race out of turn 2, just left the event.
Yeah, it's been a really odd race. Not great. Out front is where you normally want to be, but out front is not where we've seen a lot of guys be able to maintain their success tonight. As the leaders have been right, and it's not it's not a lack of experience thing. It's just good hard racing as far as I'm concerned. Maybe there should be a little bit more give and take here early on, but again, it's just good hard racing at virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway.
So that will shuffle the lead to the 29 car of James Bickford, who was the winner last week at the virtual Daytona International Speedway, and he will have Brandon Houff on his outside, Ronnie Osber third, Zachary Mertez in fourth, Nick Olsen inside the top 5. Well, Darren, as we're under yellow here from Charlotte, this is the first race of the Gen 4 schedule for the Monday Night Racing Summer Series presented by Mach10 Digital. Now, we do take the week of July 4th off, so we will be back the week after on July 10th, Super Speedway Series at Atlanta Motor Speedway. But what do you make of the schedule we have between Super Speedway events and then what we're having tonight in Gen 4s and moving forward?
I love it. I love the tracks that we're seeing right now. I love the cars that we're running at the tracks. It's just a very cool thing that we're doing this summer with MNR. I talked about it a little bit last week. I love these little promo Speed Week type things that happen throughout racetracks and states. I know it's Pennsylvania Speed Weeks going on right now in my home state of Pennsylvania. So just exciting pointed events to, get more excitement going around racing. And we're doing that with the MNR deal here on Monday Night Racing. But just a great event to keep everybody on their sims all summer long. And, I can't say enough about the tracks that have been selected and the cars that are on those tracks and the drivers that are wheeling them from their homes. It's a great thing we're doing this summer.
Yeah, 100%. Give me Homestead Miami Speedway, by the way, any day of the week.
I know
especially
that's
with these cars.
And I know that's home track for you. It's going to be a great track for you. But if you're going to sit down at the sim in the air conditioning on a hot summer night, why not crank some laps at these super speedways? The Daytona, that's the one when you got the video game as a kid that you probably plugged in first was Daytona or Talladega, and we get to do them both here on the super speedway schedule of Monday Night Racing this summer. So just a very cool thing that we're doing to keep the momentum up through the summer as we're coming back to the green.
Fair with that. Daytona with a bunch of A's right alongside. A green flag in the air. James Bigford and Brandon Houff on row number 1. They're back on the way at lap number 62 of 167. Solid jump by the 29. Ronnie Osmer darting to the inside of the 9 car in turns 1 and 2. Nick Olsen, by the way, he got spun from the lead, but he's still here inside the top 5. He will follow Osmer, by the way, up the track. And everybody's single file through 3 and 4. Now Olsen goes to the bottom for 3rd.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about Houff all night long. He was the fastest car in practice in that Casey Kane throwback. He didn't have a great qualifying run, qualified 18th, but Houff now with the track position up to 2nd has had a clean night despite all the attrition around him, and he's looking pretty good right now, running 2nd place behind James Bickford, last week's winner.
And you saw the 0-2 of Zachary Mertez get up into the wall coming out of turn 4, got sucked into the safer barrier and pushed back. Now he's inside the top 8 or so. Presley Sora right behind him. Bailey Turner racking up the top 10. And Taylor Burris in the 45 car. He started tonight 19th, and he's up to 11th. Mertez trying to do his best to hold on as there is Taylor Burris in the 45 car who ran Daytona last week. And one of the many, Darren, that are running both series. And that's pretty cool, too. You're seeing a bulk of the drivers sign up for MNR Summer Series this year, but a lot of them are going for Gen 4 and Super Speedway. Not many of them are going for one or the other. They're going for both. That I think is pretty cool. One of those drivers is Corey Heim, who's all the way up to 19th.
Yeah, and the way the race has been going and has played out so far, you're kind of not out of it at this point as we see Corey Heim again cracking back into the top 20 after his incident over there in 3 and 4 as looks like Houff's going to face a challenge here from Nick Olsen. Olsen with the run on the outside into 3. He's going to get the position, secure that position fairly easily.
What a pass by Olsen. So he gets by. There's a look at Olsen there on the bottom right. Big light next to the couch. And it is kind of blinding Olsen's face a little bit. But you can see the focus. And with the Grit Esports shirt right on him, he is focused to get to the front. And a really good run tonight from Nick Olsen. He knows that Heim is not in the picture. He knows that Cabry's further back in the field trying to scrapple through. He knows that he's got the opportunity to get around guys like James Bickford and Brandon Houff company around him in order to gain the track position and try and go for the win of this race. Here's Ray Richard right behind Mark Gribilis in the 99. A lot of cars single file on the bottom. To get stacked up kind of quick. Got to be rather careful, Darren.
Yeah, we're watching Richard right now. We haven't really called his name all night long, running 19th at this point. A fairly clean race for him. He's holding it pretty real. Not a ton of experience here in Monday Night Racing, but he's up there battling with some of the best. Just got passed by Corey Heim, but he's marching his way up through the field. And the way the race is going, with the leaders finding the wall, who knows how great of a finish he could have here at the end of the night. 100 laps from now, 100 to go.
Long way to go. You saw the big run that Brandon Houff got on Nick Olsen, and I almost thought the 24 got into the wall, but he did not. Just did not have a good corner whatsoever, and Houff really picked things up. An onboard look here from Ronnie Osmer in the number 55 car, so he'll take the draft off of the 9 right in front of him. And the driver out of Pearl River, Louisiana, He's going to try his best to get there to that number 9 car, but there's a big pack building up behind them. And how about Rocky Hardpants in the 71?
Absolutely.
Darren started 24th. He's up to 6th. Him and Matt Stallneck, some of the biggest movers tonight.
Yeah, the Heart Piece just been marching through the field all night long. That is another name that we haven't called all night long, but having a great run, has dodged the wrecks, has played the strategy right on the tires, and he continues to impress, running solidly here in the top 10. What a call out to James Bickford as we've been walking through the field and talking through the field. He's pulled out to a 2.5 lead over Nick Olson. So that's the first time we've really seen all night long a leader be able to get away from the field. And of course, it's going to be last week's winner, James Bickford, doing so.
Well, there's nothing better, Darren, than winning the race last week and just bringing that momentum to the next race onwards, and that's exactly what Bickford is doing. He started in 10th, and it's been a rather consistent race and really clean for driver number 29, but as soon as he got that first place spot, boy, has he ran away with it. We'll look further back. Here's with Zachary Mertez in the 02. He's back here because he hit the wall, so hence he's trying to fight for position here. But they're all single file. Bailey Turner able to steal away 7th from Hartpence. He will look forward to Matt Stallneck in the number 41 car. But looking on board with Mertez, Darren, it gives you a good look of just how physical it is to stay behind the wheel and keep this Gen 4 car in control. Again, you've got some downforce, but it's not a lot, and you have a heap of power underneath the hood. That car is basically with the steering wheel to the right at all times when you're on the throttle.
Absolutely. Yeah, even when you're on the straightaway, you're not going straight. You've got that Twisted Sister walking sideways down the back straightaway. As, again, these gents just keep sawing back and forth on the wheel. We say the same thing out of Taylor Burris. He's currently in 11th, right behind Presley Sora, and again, just working that wheel, even going down the back straightaway here at Virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. Great look at what these drivers are going through and the effort they are putting in to put on a show for you here on Monday night.
Just look at that. He's steering right. He's straight. He is barely turning that car to the left, and that's how you rotate a Gen 4 to 1.5-mile track. Here's a look at Matt Stallneck in the number 41 car, so he is right behind the 21 at Max Kennan. Again, good look at what these drivers experience behind the wheel, and with the camera from Stallneck, you get an even better look, as I think he's got the broadcast on his TV right alongside, as there's Bailey Turner to go on the inside for 6.
Well, I tell you what, unrelated to everything that's going on at the track, I said earlier that the coolest part about Monday Night Racing and sim racing was you're able to have your dog at your feet. I'm in the middle of a thunderstorm right now here in Pennsylvania, and we are still green flag at Charlotte Motor Speedway. That is maybe my favorite thing about sim racing, is the weather is controlled and there are no rain delays.
Oh yeah, 100%. I know as a Miami, Florida native myself, I see rain, I think, every day. In the summer especially, you get a lot of rain here in South Florida, and with hurricane season on the horizon, weather is bad. And I mean it, weather is really bad at a lot of times. But when you can see the great weather controlled in iRacing, I mean, we don't have rain yet though. So Darren, I mean, I don't know if you're gonna jinx that, because rain is coming to the sim.
Yeah, right. That throw a wrench in every. Hey, you know, we have a 2-hour time delay, right? So that's when the weather is coming, I guess. At least we can call it that.
I can't wait for the moment we have rain in the sim on ovals, and then we just have, all right, rain is coming in approximately 20 minutes. Strategize, push, now go to the front. That would be so cool to see. James Bickford still in your race lead. We're watching this battle here for now about 7th or 8th, but that is Ford Martin, a lapped car. So he's going to back out of this. He's going to fall to 30th. He's 22 laps down, so he's been in 30th for a while, but it's been a rough one for the Mach10 Digital Chevrolet, as there goes Presley Sora and Taylor Burris.
Well, it looked like back at the front of the field toe, I'm just watching timing and scoring. It looked like Nick Olson's been able to chop Bickford's lead and about half as we're continuing to watch Ford Martin. But yeah, again, just that's the great thing about sim racing too, is these guys do persevere through the challenges. You know, Corey Heim hit the wall hard. He could have disconnected, but he's still here battling. Same with a lot of these guys that have been caught up in some of the attrition here through the first half of the race.
And speaking of those guys who are at the front of the field, you talked about it. Corey Heim, he's in 14th. Chase Cabry is in 12th. And so those guys have been running up front for a while. There's Cabry. I feel like ever since they had that bit of damage, they fixed their cars, they've been back out on track, the pace has not been as quick. Surely they've caught up to a couple of spots, but it has not been as big as we maybe expected.
I mean, they were so fast, both Cabries early on. I mean, unless you somehow find your way back to the front of the field, it's going to be a shoulda, coulda, woulda for tonight for Chase. So, yeah, the damage is definitely holding him up at this point, and he's got a long way to march. Everybody's at speed. A lot of these cars have not sustained damage, so they're at 100%. So he's got his work cut out for him if he does want to get back up at the front of the field. 4 or 5 seconds back at this point. That's a long way to go under green flag conditions in a slightly dinged up race car.
Yeah, we've also got another half of this race left. We are almost 80 laps complete of 167. So you're right, a long way to go. And there's many steps still needed to be taken before you officially get back to where you were. If you're a guy like Cabri or like Heim. Your lead is up to 1.5 seconds. Nick Olsen fell back to third. Brandon Houff took that spot away. There is Rocky Hartpence trying to look onwards to Bailey Turner. We're looking back through the field. There is the 31 machine right behind Corey Heim. That is Matthew Kent. He might be under fire from Landon Polinsky, and Polinsky with a great qualifying effort, but this race has not been the greatest for him. He's been hanging around 16th, but he's kept the car clean, which I think is the best thing to ask for with a car that can really get so out of control so quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. A clean race is going to be a great race for a lot of these guys, just trying to gain respect and experience here on Monday Night Racing. That said, though, like, Polinsky had such a great qualifying run, and we have not said his name all night long. So it's a good we're giving it a mention here now, just in case he sneaks up later in the race, which happened to us last week with some of the drivers. So at least we still know he's in the field.
And it's always good news to know that you're running well, you don't have that many cars around you, and even if you do, you're running clean, you're running hard, you're running with a lot of respect. So that's good news all around the board. Mertens way loose out of turn 4. You saw that there behind Presley Sora. Yeah. I think we've reached the cliff there, and these tires are starting to fall off. We're about lap 23 into the stint for these guys.
Yeah, and this is the first time these, it looks like, what is that?
Ronnie Osmer
slow in the wall. He scraped the wall coming out of 4 or 3, 2. We'll just count them down. I know where I'm talking about. He's on the 3 and 4 right now, though, and looks like he's back up to speed. So just maybe a little slip up coming out at 2 for him.
Yeah, he was going into turns 1 and 2. Car drifted up high and caught the wall. And again, we talk about these Gen 4 cars. They're really hard to escape off the wall when you get there. But Osmer is still faithful to the top in 1 and 2. 3-car battle building up from 4th on back. Bailey Turner against Max Kennan and Rocky Hartpence, the yellow and white and pink Chevrolet. You'll see him right up the board from Ronnie Osmer's view, who's sitting behind 41 and Matt Stonek. So there's this trio, starting with Bailey Turner. These guys very comfortable running with each other and really competitive. And what a run for Bailey Turner as well. Started 16th. He's now up to 4th. Really consistent run. And you got to love the paint scheme, too. No doubt.
I love that. Mentioned that in qualifying, how I loved his paint scheme last week, too, which was just a gloss black race car with the white number 5s on the side. And it was racy down at Daytona. This Turner kid really is impressive here in these last 2 weeks of Monday Night Racing. The result last week, probably not what we all wanted to see, maybe not what we wanted to expect out of him. But again, he's marching through the field. He's kept it clean all night long. And he's actually one that has been picking off a lot of drivers. So great run again for Turner in the 5.
And Turner's one of those drivers, Darren, in MNR history that has been very close but has never gotten the cigar. You look at other drivers like Joey Padgett, and you look at some others that you can count them in the conversation of they're so good, consistent every week, and yet they don't have win because either they've found themselves in unlucky circumstances late in the race, or they just cannot beat the dominant car of the day outright. And that's been a problem for them. But Bailey Turner, you got to give him the utmost credit for all that he's been able to do. And with these cars tonight, it's a lot of promise for what we should see later on in this Gen 4 schedule. And we should also tip our hat to Matt Stonek, 11th last week at Daytona, and currently inside the top 7.
Yeah, and we keep talking about the incident that he had in qualifying coming off of, I think it was 2, when he just nosed it into the wall pretty hard. Great for him to be having a really fantastic run. Less than an hour now after he put it into the wall, as he's now marching through the field. But again, both of these guys right here, Hartpence and Stolnek, impressive all night long. Really didn't expect to see this out of Hartpence tonight, and he's again holding a pretty wheel in 7th spot, holding off some of the best in the business at this point.
just one of those rookie drivers that's standing out. And there's nothing better than that. I mean, we talked about Miranda. I know his night ended early, but when you're a rookie driver, Hart pins loose out of 4. Oh no, the commentators jinx. We're not talking about him again. We're not talking about him again.
Absolutely. Let's look the other way.
Oh man. Harpen's having a great run though. He loses that spot to Stallneck. The last thing we want to do is jinx any of these drivers in the field. We know how good they are. We want to talk about how good they are, but we don't want to mess them up.
But even then, like the fact that he just walked a car sideways coming into the dogleg at Charlotte, was able to save it, only lost 1 position, a testament to his skill and his car handling skills. And again, they're not fresh tires on these cars, so great save by him as he continues to run well within the top 10.
Well, let's talk about it, Darren. Old tires on these Gen 4 cars. We're approaching 30 laps on a stint for these guys. In fact, we are at 30 laps officially. Pit stops on the horizon. Green flag stops, in fact. We may see that. Our longest green flag run of the night is right now at 30 laps. So we may just end up there. These guys have 100% max fuel, so it will take a little while before they do have to come in. But that certainly might be floating around the minds of these guys, no?
Well, and for some of the guys in the back of the pack, too, like maybe short pitting will come into play to get some track position. The strategy's got to come into play for some of these guys in the back, or just the guys like Colin Fern that have lost track position due to incidents. Corey Heim still only running 14th. He's got to try something to get up there with a dinged-up race car. It's probably not going to come from clear speed on the track after their incidences, so they're going to have to figure out some sort of strategy if they want to be in contention here at the end of the night.
So there's a look at Presley Sora here with Hart Pence. One of those drivers that should be looking at green flag stops if we stay green from here on out. Presley Sora came into this race finishing 7th. The last time MNR was out at Charlotte with the Xfinity cars back in Season 5, so it was a really good race for Sora. And the Season 5 champion has done a good job of keeping that car clean as Stallneck dives to the inside of Max Cannon. Passes are not over inside the top 10, and that's a textbook move by car number 41. Stallneck continues his progression, gets over the radio, and I think just thank Max Cannon for keeping it clean there.
Yeah, he just continues his march to the front of the field. This is honestly a really impressive run out of him after starting way back, having his qualifying time disallowed after the incident with the back straight wall. It's a great run for him coming up through the field. Honestly, what a fantastic race we're having. We've had just some really dramatic crashes. We've had some great racing, some great side-by-side racing. Really a fantastic race with 75 to go here in Charlotte. It's just going to shape up to be a fantastic one here at the conclusion, 75 laps from now.
Really close between the 41 and the 07. Yeah, you're right, almost 3 wide. They're getting around the lap car, Ford Martin. That was Harry. Martin still on the inside, and here comes Sora for a pass for 6th.
And Presley Sora, Monday Night Racing champion from a few seasons back, he's been really kind of quiet all night long. I don't think we've called his name very much as he looks a little loose in the center of the corner, but able to complete the pass there on Max Kennan. But Presley Sora now marching to the front of the field. And again, a lot of these names that we have seen in very many seasons past have risen to the top here as this green flag run progresses at Charlotte.
100%. 98 stays in 6th. He'll try to catch up to the 41 of Stallneck, who holds on to the last spot inside the top 5. On board with James Bigford, 2.2 seconds ahead of the second place car. Brandon Half in the 9. James Bigford has taken all the advantages of the clean air and hasn't had, Darren, any of the inherent disadvantages that would come with being out front and just possibly getting over-eager with the tires. Bigford has kept his composure. It's been fast all night long, and Brandon Half, as much as he's tried, he's not been able to close in that gap.
Yeah, he closes it. I've been watching the timing just a little bit. He's able to, every once in a while, get down to about 1.5 seconds, but then Bickford, it could just be him going around lap traffic and whatnot. But James Bickford really holding a pretty wheel through the middle stages of this race and continually adding to his lead. At least that's the course that we've seen him on here through the this latest tire run.
Sora on the 41, battle for 5th on the back straightaway. 72 laps to go here from Charlotte Motor Speedway, and Sora will make it look easy on the inside. We cross the line for what is 37 laps on a stint for the drivers out in front, and not many battles out there. We're looking at a lot of single file car trains or just drivers all by themselves. And do you think, Darren, this is the most dangerous part of the race when you're a driver, or is it way more dangerous when you're more stacked up on a restart?
I think we're okay right now, right? Like, I think the guys have settled into a pretty good rhythm. The tires are getting a little bit worn and the fuel loads are burning off, getting the rears light on the back of those cars. But that's a my destiny thing. That's something that I can control with my right and left foot, right? Or my right and left feet. So I'd rather be on worn tires as we see pit stops, starting with Nick Olsen pitting out of the top 5. But I'd rather be out there on my own on worn tires than stacked up on a restart with fresh tires and all the chaos around me.
Oh yeah, cautions do breed cautions off for restarts. You saw Nick Olsen there come on for pit road, so he's the first one to strike in the lead lap car field. And speaking of cars in the lead lap, we do have around 23 cars that are still running on the lead lap. Francis Pelletier, the last one holding a lead lap position. Nick Olsen has gone 1 lap down from the leaders, virtue of his stop on pit road. A good look at Ronnie Osmer in the 55 as Adam Boyles in the 22 car has also come in. So slowly but surely, Darren, we're starting to see these guys filter down to pit road. Just might be a statement of what's to come as leader James Bickford is in.
There we go.
As I say that.
Floodgates are going to open now, boys. Everybody is going to be coming in for those fresh, good years as James Bickford's going to come down, obviously taking 4 at this point in the race with 68 to go.
And I'm surprised because these guys are going around lap 40, lap 41 on their stint. Are they confident enough that they can get to what's going to be the marker for the end of this race at around 68 laps to go? More drivers are queuing their way in, including the 5 of Bailey Turner. Never mind, it looks like he's going to stay out. It looked like he was slowing down quite a bit, but some more drivers are entering. Chase Cabry, Mach10 in the 21, and the 39 are in as Brandon Houff takes control of the lead. And how about Corey Heim? He's going to take a step down too.
So if we've just gone 40, I think that's what you said, right, Ken? So if we split that 40, at this point, you can split this final run in half and be good to go to the end. So it looks like that's what a lot of the guys are doing at this point.
So here's Brandon Houff in the 9, still not coming in. We've got a battle for second, not too far behind this 9 car, the 5 and the 98, Bailey Turner and Presley Sora. Looks like Sora has that spot. Now we'll continue to watch out on track who comes in and who stays out. But look at the difference on tires between Sora, Turner, and then everyone else that's going to come hurtling behind them. Guys like the 19 machine, the 71, Rocky Harpins, they're going to come into frame. There's the 19 car who goes right there, and he's going to get around them like they're standing still. That's Francis Pelletier.
And, like, that's this is probably one of the more dangerous parts of the race, at least nerve-wracking for those guys that have pitted. They're just hoping a caution doesn't fly right now and trap them possibly a lap down, as we see James Bickford now flying by, trying to unlap himself before the leaders right now, Brendan Houff, can pit.
We got some more takers. Taylor Burris, Landon Polinsky, the 45, the 28. And as we look onwards toward the pit strategy, we do have word from our producer, Ryan Bauer. Nick Olsen has jumped the James Bickford car in the 29. That's for the net race lead. So Olsen, with a bit of an undercut by around 2 laps, comes in and has the proverbial spot. But James Bickford has a lot of speed. We'll see how he can catch up as Brandon Houff will rely on whether he comes in this time.
I mean, visually, he has a significant lead over Bickford right now. It was 2.5 seconds, I believe.
Oh,
and while we're 3 wide right now, that's going to stack things up.
Nick Olsen trying to go through the leaders. Bickford is right on his tail. He caught up on that checkup from the 24, and he's got eye on the Grit Esports Marketing Chevrolet.
Just great racing, great strategy, great racing, just great competitive energy coming out of virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway tonight. As still, though, I'm surprised we have not seen Half come in. He is running a strategy that I can't figure out at this point. I don't know if he's going to just run this thing dry, hoping on a caution, but with the previous leaders unlapping themselves at this point, it doesn't really make sense that why he's still staying out there. As we see other guys pitting at this point, to include Stallneck, Hartpiece, and Cummings.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Half has stayed out this long, and that goes the same for Presley Sora, Bailey Turner, Ronnie Osmer. I'm not as surprised by Colin Fern because he was far back in track position. Half is way hard on the brakes. He's going to come in. He will bring in
all the leaders,
third with him. So Sora, Turner, now Osmer, all of them are in. Looks like Colin Fern is going to stay out. He'll take the lead. Zachary Mertez is going to come in behind these guys, and he'll be in. And now it's all on James Bickford and Nick Olsen cars to get around and shuffle back to the lead.
Yeah, now we see Bickford right now. He, in theory, will take the lead back as he's coming back. He's past Osmer, or Nick Olsen, I'm sorry, and Bickford will take the lead. No, Colin Fern's still out on the racetrack.
It's Fern and Matthew Kent, first and second. Both of them are staying out. We're going to wonder when Kent is going to come in. That's right now. He hops on the brakes. The 31 car is officially coming in, so shuffle Bickford to second in just a couple of moments. And here's Fern. Look at the battle behind them. That's Turner and Sora side by side. And on board with the 96 machine, Darren, he is clutching. Fuel saving with 60 laps to go.
Oh, but even then, guys, like I guess if you come in now, you can short pit at the end. You can maybe just go for a splash and go in the race as Colin Fern again flies by the entrance to pit road, clutching and just trying to save as much fuel, but he's only got 12 seconds up at this point. He's going to fall well back through the pack once he does make this pit stop if the caution flag does not come out, and there are no signs of it coming out at this point. Colin Fern between a rock and a hard place with 59 to go at Charlotte.
Well, with Fern's strategy here, he was so far back in track position. This is what he has to do if he wants to get to the front. He can bank on a caution, get some fresh tires, get the fuel to make it at the end of this race, and he'll be okay. And this is a strategy, Darren, that can be turned back to the next gens at Atlanta a couple of seasons ago. Season 4, they got him into the championship round. At season's end, he stayed out until a couple of laps to go on old tires. Caution came out. He got fresh tires and then stormed through the field for the win. This is exactly what I'm seeing right now out of Fern. Does it pan out, though? That's a big question mark still.
Yeah, the James Bickford car is closing in at several seconds a lap. I'm just watching. Now 5 seconds go down, 6, it's now at 5 as Colin Fern is coming in. That's why it's dropping so quickly. Colin Fern finally dropping in on pit road.
So Fern is in. He does not get the yellow to give him track position, so he's going to end up on pit road. Nick Olsen, James Bickford are going to be the first two cars, but Bickford has the lead by approximately 1.5 seconds. Colin Fern will fall back to the field, and look at this battle behind. That's Zachary Mertez in the 02, Mark Grabilis in the 99. That's a battle going on for 20th, and they're 3 wide.
This is what we saw at Daytona last week. Guys in the back of the pack going 3 wide, but it looks like these gents will make it stick. Great racing in the back of the pack here at Charlotte as the field is really strung out at this point. Nick Olsen's within 2.5 seconds of James Bickford, but just hard racing all around Charlotte Motor Speedway. Colin Fern is going to cycle out of the pits. He is going to be 1 lap down after his pit strategy call, running about 18th position as he comes up to speed down the back straight.
I'm going to have to say, though, Darren, how scary is that if you're Nick Olsen? You're getting stormed by fresh tire cars battling for 20th around you 3 wide. Right. That has to be super scary.
Absolutely. Even in a virtual car, you're still puckering up a little bit, just hoping to not pile that thing into the wall.
Here is Max Kennan in the 21 car. Great run for him so far. He works on Chase Cabrian. The 39, great strategy pulled out by him. He did pit approximately 12 laps ago, so right, I think earlier than Bickford and Olsen did, yes. Earlier by a couple of laps to Olsen and by 1 lap to Bickford, but Cabri is doing all that he can to gain the track position, and it seems to be working quite well.
Let's look at who the winners and losers are through that round of pit stop. I'm looking at Half, who was running second. I believe it was second before the pit stop. He stayed out long and has fallen back to 5th position. He lost somewhere around 10 seconds, 9-10 seconds on that round of pit stops. So tough break for him, but now we see Corey Heim crack back into the top 10. He's running 6, trying to track Hauf down. So a little bit of a jumbling in the top 10. Even Matt Stolnick has fallen back through that round of pit stops. James Bickford did maintain the lead throughout all of that. So if we're counting winners through pit stops, let's count James Bickford because he's still winning. But some guys coming out with some bold.
Car round 3 and 4. Stolnick gets in a Ford barn into Rocky Hartpence. Caution is out with 53 laps to go. I'm sorry, Darren, for cutting you off.
All
but
good.
I saw that accident happen live. Ford Martin, the lap car, was in the middle of the track. Stolnick tried to slow up to not get into him, but he does, by accident, sends the 07 into the outside wall. We have a pivotal caution rather late in this Next Level Racing 250.
Boy, and Colin Fern saying if I'd have just stayed out a little bit longer, but Ford Martin's been in the way here for a while now, and in the way again, causing the caution there. Some great race cars wrapped up in that one as Matt Stolnick really marched through the field all night long, and Rocky Hartpence was having a great run as well throughout the night. So bummer for those guys, but they keep a fairly clean race car and keep going through the field.
That's so tough for Stolnick. I was about to mention Stolnick and Hartpence, some of the losers off of that strategy, they lost a heap of position just because of the way they pitted. And that's a mistake right there from the 41. Obviously not intentional. Was probably not expecting Martin to be up there in the middle of the track. The speed difference is so large. He tried to slow down, but the 41 just unfortunately could not woe it down enough to not get into the 07. Here's a look from Rocky Hartpence, an unfortunate bystander in all this, but suffers minimal damage and a great job to save it. I think a bit of front-end nose damage on the 71, but nothing too harsh. Great stuff by Hartpence, and he will stay in this race. Now the leaders do come down pit road. James Bickford is in, so is Nick Olson, Chase Cabry and company. They are all entering their stalls, so this is most likely going to be 4 fresh tires, maybe fuel to get to the end of this race. Less than 50 laps to go on our next restart. Stay tuned for the rest of the Next Level Racing 250 right here on Podium Esports.
Request permission to engage with the test conducted staff. Over.
Mach 10. Let's give Mach 10.
You're clear for takeoff.
FrontStretch.com, providing up-to-date news, analysis, and commentary on all the latest in the world of motorsports. Check out Front Stretch YouTube page for post-race content after the checkered flag waves for most NASCAR events, giving you up-close interviews with your favorite drivers and the stories that matter each weekend. For the best seat of the track and the best view on the web, visit FrontStretch.com.
$50 laps to go here from the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway as the field stays behind the iRacing official pace car. We continue the Next Level Racing 250 here on Podium Esports. And right after the race, stay tuned for coverage of the Front Stretch post-race show. Michael Massey and Brandon Hauf, 2 Monday Night Racing drivers, will give you all of the recaps, the analysis, and more as we continue the Monday Night Racing Summer Series presented by Mach10 Digital. So after driver interviews and after our unofficial results, stay tuned for post-race. We have a lot more content on the way with the Front Stretch post-race show. Kenneth Bueno, Darren Denman here with you on the call. Ryan Bauer, our producer this evening, using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Bauer's done an amazing job producing. And Darren, boy, it's been a lot of fun, but we have a restart inside 49 laps to go. Bigford in the race lead.
Great racing all night long, and the dominant car here through the middle stages has been James Bickford. He jumps out to a nice lead, and there's Cabry once again after that spin at the midway point of the race. He's back, battling for the lead. We've got a caution. They're all spinning on the backstretch.
Car around at the outside wall. That's DJ Cummings in the 10. Quick yellow after the restart. And luckily, no one else gets involved. The 10 car in trouble for what appears to be the first time tonight for him. But look at the replay here, Darren.
Yeah, DJ's been clean all night long, but battling here in the top 10. Looks like he's just... Oh, no, that's not where it took place. I thought he was just not going to be clear low. Marching, yeah, he just got loose. Checked up a little bit. Drivers behind him, I guess that's Presley Soar. Didn't see him. Wasn't able to slow down in time, and DJ gets sent into the wall.
Oh, and Matt Stallneck got a piece of damage off of that too. Race Control says that the incident between the 07 and the 41 will be reviewed post-race. We did not say that Ford Martin unofficially got disqualified from Paul Sutton, as there is DJ Cummings. Just slight contact between him and Sora. Not sure if you can really blame any driver in that scenario, Darren. I mean, the 10's trying to pick up the race car. The 98 is just running his race behind the 10. He's not expecting that last second, right? 100%.
Absolutely not. It's just a racing deal here as we're closing in on the conclusion of this one. And there's Ray Richer again, having a great race. Great car control right there to avoid that crash. And Ray is just marching through the field. I don't know if he's top 10 yet, but he's having a clean race and getting close to having a great finish here tonight. He is. He's ninth now. Good for him.
Yeah, he's one of 3 drivers, Darren, right now in the top 10 that started 25th or worse. Richard started this race 25th, and now he's up tonight. A rookie driver in this series, got to really give him props. 57, doing all that he can to stay in this race, and he is in it with around 46 laps to go here from Charlotte. Let's talk to the driver of the 57, Ray Richer, and get his perspective, as we will drag him in just a couple of moments. But what a race he's been putting together thus far. And Ray, first of all, welcome to the broadcast booth here on Podium Esports. You're putting up a great race so far tonight. What's it been like all race long?
I hate to say it, I'm just as surprised as you guys are. These cars are a handful, and they are a blast to drive to begin with. And second of all, I've just been trying to keep my nose clean out of the wrecks, and I've been avoiding a few real close, including that last one. Just happened right in front of me. I had to go to the infield to avoid that one, too.
Hey, that car looks like it came right out of the car wash. It looks perfect out on track tonight. Darren, you had a question for Ray?
No, I was just going to compliment Ray on that car control he had there, getting through that crash there, unscathed once again. We're rooting for you up here, Ray. It's been fun to watch you come through the field. Keep it clean tonight.
Well, wish me a little bit more luck, because I'm going to need it towards the end. I got enough to make it like everybody else, but these tires are still fresh. They get slick at the beginning and slick at the end, so let's see what we can do with the 57 car tonight.
Hey, best of luck. Ray Richer, driver of the 57, inside the top 10 after starting 25th. What a run it's been for him. And according to our producer, Ryan Bauer, Ray Richer, former podium commentator. So I guess the love from the podium commentators now to him out on track. And I believe Richer was, if I'm not mistaken, a driver in the Sunoco Cup Series a couple of seasons back. I remember Richer's name out on the racetrack. I think he was a part of the current SK Sim Racing group. Ray Richer used to be driving in the Sunoco Cup Series, so I remember that name a lot. Ray Richer, great to see him inside the top 10, and he's all smiles right now. He's got a lot of drivers in front of him, though, if he wants to get to this win. Still a great chance to do so. 46 laps to go, and let's talk about it, Darren. Longest green flag run of the night by far that we had before a recent caution with Stallneck and Ford Martin. It really stacked up the field. Everybody's on the same playing field. No worries about fuel. What do you do now if you're everyone in the field right now?
Enjoy the race and race as hard as you possibly can. Get everything you can. Like, I'm not saving tires at this point. I know there's 46 to go, but if you're not in the top 5 at this point, you need to be there to set yourself in a position. And I'm going to burn those tires up right now to put myself into that position. Maybe a late caution changes things for me, but you need to be up front, especially as dominant as James Bickford has been through the middle stages of this race. You're going to have to use up what you have to stay close to him to put on a show at the end of the night and have a chance.
You're going to have to keep the clock in mind, too, because we're going 167 laps. But if we cross the 2-hour mark, this race is over, even if we don't get to 167, the magic number. Green flag in the air once again from Charlotte. A good start by James Bickford before turn 1. Chase Caber's going to hold on, battle for third. Max Kennan, Nick Olsen, they're going to try and pressure each other going on to the back straightaway. But this is only going to allow the top 2 to somewhat break away and get some elbow room into 3 and 4.
Boy, this is going to be a true test of who really has the best car. We saw Cabri have a great car in the early stages of the race, but then James Bickford got the lead and has been dominant ever since. Now those two are equally matched up front, and the battle is on for the lead with 44 to go.
Max Kennan, a 2-time winner in MNR Pro Series history. Olsen, unfortunately, has not been able to get to victory lane yet, and they have both been rather fast tonight. A look on board with Steve O'Font, one of the drivers as well to enter the top 10 for the first time this evening after starting in 32nd. He's got a lot of good talent around him, though. Brandon Houff, Ray Richer, Corey Heim, among those trying to get back to the front.
Just watching these guys come through the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. Single file right now throughout most of the field, and these boys just look like they're content. Interesting to watch Corey Heim, though, broke into the top 10, marched his way up to 6th before that last caution. He looks like he's trying to take over the 8th position at this point, but Corey Heim, after that unfortunate contact with the wall with about 30 laps into the race, still continuing to try to dig out of the hole from that as Steve Alfont sideways coming out of 4th.
And here's Bailey Turner looking onwards to Nick Olsen. This could be a pass developing for 4th. Max Kennan is held on to 3rd. But a guy like Corey Heim, Darren, you reckon that he needs this run to go a long way and to go his way. He's faced damage all night long. He's been stuck in the mid-pack. He has had nowhere to go. Now that he's got a sniff for the top 10, he's got to make the most of it 150%.
I think some of these guys that are in that second half of the top 10, that 5 through 10 positions, 6 through 10 positions, they're going to need some cautions. They're going to need some good strategy to work their way into that top 5. At this point in the night, I'm really thinking the winner is going to come out of that top 5, but it is Monday night racing. We can have drama. We can have anything but rain delays. So it's going to be exciting over the next 41 laps.
And strategy is going to play into this too. Yes, fuel is not a concern, but tires are. You need to hold on to your set of tires before this race is all said and done. As there's a look on board with Ray Richer, he's running by himself. He is fallen off a little bit to the top 12, but still a good run developing. Taylor Burris has gone by. Steve Alfont and Brandon Houff going at it. As here's the trio from 3rd on back. Olsen and Turner starting to heat things up on that 21's rear bumper.
Just incredible racing. I cannot describe how much I've enjoyed this racing tonight. We've had strategy, we've had long read runs, we've had great side-by-side racing, we've had 3 wide passes. If you're not enjoying the performance that these guys are putting on tonight, I don't think you're a race fan, because this is incredible stuff. Virtual or not, some of the best racing I've seen all year happening here at Virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway on a Monday night.
And again, it's a different tune from last week, Darren. Daytona with the next gens, how crazy that race was, with the amount of cautions we had, the big packs, and all the things that came with it. But tonight, you have such a different style of racing. And again, magic of what we're seeing here in this summer series at MNR this year is that you get to see 2 sides of racing, whether it's super speedway, opening up to everybody, or having a race come down to strategy and pure discipline behind the wheel.
And that's what we're seeing tonight. And, you know, the finish last week in Daytona was fantastic, but it took a long time to get there through all the cautions, right? Like, this is a pure race. I just listed off all the attributes that we've seen in this race so far, and we're only 130 laps in at this point, still with 38 to go. So we've seen a great race, and we're shaping up for a fantastic finish. James Bickford with about an 0.8 of a second lead, but it's really, I would say, anybody in the top 5 at this point, if this thing goes green, it's going to be a great race up to the finish.
And you're going to have to watch out as well for what guys like Cabri can do to Bickford, right? Because the 29 pulled away from guys like Brandon Houff and Nick Olsen on a long run. But the question is, does he hold on with a different caliber driver behind him? Chase Cabri has been fast all night long, but there's no question about that. But it's just about whether he can execute here in this last stint. There's a look on board with the 39. He is about, I'd say, a second and a half over Bailey Turner, who's maintained third, got over it with Nick Olsen and the 21 Max Kennan around him, but Cabria stayed there. 0.7 of a second between the two. It was a little bit faster last lap by.
Right, and in Daytona last week was such a crapshoot, right? Like, people are coming out of nowhere at the very end with all those green-white checkers to make a play at the lead. Dale Earnhardt, one of those, and honestly, James Bickford came out of really nowhere to win the thing. But we've seen the guys that have been good all night long progress through the field. Those are the Turners and the Olsens, and even Matt Stallneck coming back after the last instant to run top 6 at this point. It's good to see hard work and good driving showing up here at the end of the race with what could potentially be a great result for some of these guys that have really worked all night long for it.
Hey, how about guys like Adam Boyles, 15th from 34th? A lot of these guys making great runs, and it's so good to see rookie drivers, guys who have been around for a while, who haven't really experienced runs at the front or haven't experienced wins all too much. Man, it's been so fun to watch as there's Corey Heim right in front of Matt Stallneck and kept tabs on Boyles, who's looking forward to Landon Polinsky in that 14th place position. But this line, led by Heim, 6th on back. And actually, last time by, Heim was faster than Kennan by over a 10. 30.803 for Heim, 30.926 for Max Kennan. So should watch that battle for the 5th spot develop in a little bit. Meanwhile, Colin Ferd kind of struggling a bit, Darren. He's trapped in the midfield.
Yeah, Colin Fern tried to, he was fast in the early going. He got up there, took the lead, and just kind of has not been able to get, we got one sideways. It's Richard. Richard sideways, looks like he's going to save it, though. Keep it out of the wall. Great save. Richard down the back stretch, and we stay under green.
What a way to keep it together. Ray Richard loses track position. That was contact between himself and Landon Polinsky in the 28. Richard, no fault in that, but he does get a bit of left rear damage. Here's a look at the replay, Darren. Simple bit of contact.
Yeah, we were just talking to Ray in car, and he said he's keeping it clean all night long and just loses it a little bit and gets tapped, but able to keep it out of the wall and really up to speed. Great save by Ray, and we stay under green here at Charlotte.
So race control
really
does not throw the yellow. Great save by Ray Richard. Battle for the 3rd spot. It's still up for grabs. Nick Olsen has been pouncing that 5 car Bailey Turner for a little while, but they are starting to see Chase Cabria and James Bickford, Darren, get a little smaller and smaller by lap. Each and every time it goes by, they're just right next to each other, but they're not as quick as the drivers in front. As here's Rocky Hardpence fighting for a top 10 spot. Ooh, got into the outside wall right behind Steve O'Font.
Yeah, Harpence fallen back a little bit after that the contact with the Ford Martin incident, with Ford Martin Stallneck incident. Haven't really seen him bounce back up into the top 10, where we saw him running consistently all night long. A little bit of a bummer for him, but still got 30 laps to go to make it into the top 10, running 12th at this point.
And here's Taylor Burris, Florida native inside the top 10. Boy, he's fighting the wheel out of turn 2. And just, again, the great runs by these drivers tonight here at Charlotte. Burris in a 10th. Steve O'Font, the Milton, West Virginia native, he's out in 11th. We just got where the Taylor actually now moved to Texas, but he did live in Florida for a while. Steve O'Font almost gets into the outside wall there. And then, again, just looking at the field go by. With 29 laps to go, Darren, things have really thinned out. It's just, again, reflective of the racing we've seen here at Charlotte.
And we saw that take place through that middle run of the race there before the couple quick cautions that we had. Guys really getting strung out, but that's good. That's good racing, right? We don't want to see the pack racing. That's why we have the Super Speedway Series this summer, where we want to see the pack racing and the Demolition Derby and, you know, just the drama that goes on a track like Talladega, Daytona, or the, you know, New Atlanta. This is the racing you would expect to see at Atlanta, and it rewards good drivers. And James Bickford has proved that, looking to go 2 for 2 here early on. Still 28 laps to go. And Chase Cabria is going to keep him honest. Yeah, it's about a second lead at this point, but seconds can go away in a second if Bickford slips up just here in a little bit in the last 28 laps.
So everyone single file through the moment. We saw a bit of side-by-side action. That was for 7th, Presley Sora and Matt Stallneck, both of them going at it. That's still right behind Corey Heim, who's leading this group and has closed in the gap between himself and Max Kennan. It hasn't been all too much, but it's now within 0.8 of a second. here's a look at Brandon Houff, who will stay a little bit later on tonight, not as a driver, but as an analyst for the Front Stretch post-race show with him and Michael Massey. So again, stay tuned here on Podium Esports. Once we close out this race from Charlotte, our coverage is not over quite yet. That 41 is going to try and get back at the 98. And Darren, I've seen more drivers be reluctant to be on the bottom as the race has progressed rather than go to the top. Is that a case of tire saving, or is there another factor that we're not talking about yet?
I mean, it could be tire saving. It could be just where your car is comfortable, where you're comfortable to run the thing, right? Like if Kyle Larson was here and just ripping the outside wall, nobody'd question it. That's just where he wants to run, and that's where the car is comfortable. So, you know, at this point in the race, it's it probably just where that balance is in the corner, where you have the best feel for the car, where you're trying to make the most speed. It's a myriad of factors that these guys are trying to figure out at 180 miles an hour. So it's just a product of the racing that we're seeing, right, Kenneth?
Oh yeah, 100%. And this racing has really made things conducive to great passes and strategy plays and tire saving. You name it. We have seen it all here from the home of NASCAR. Corey Heim still leads this group of about 4 or 5 or so, rather a quartet, as the gap for the lead stays at around 9/10 of a second. I am not seeing Put this time by. He was almost 2/10 faster than Cabry, so he's starting to pull away as this race has progressed. We have a connectivity issue there. Bigford dropped out for a second, but he's back on.
There we go, just letting things sort out. But yeah, Cabry's just hanging there right at about 1 second back. Just bouncing into this point. I think James Bickford's doing a really great job of managing this race. He sees that 1 second gap in his rear view. He sees the Cabry car in his rear view, and there's no sense to push it even further. He did air it out to what, a 2.5 second lead before we got into those pit stops and cautions earlier. So we know he has the car. He's got the right setup. He can hold a pretty wheel, and he's been doing it all night long. You know, a lot of these guys that we thought were contenders that were able to step up front at some point in the night have fallen by the wayside. But the last 2/3 of this race, last half of this race, has really been nothing but James Bickford. He's been dominant and led the whole way outside of a series of green flag pit stops.
And the Napa, California native is doing the best that he can, maintaining that momentum off of last week's win at Daytona and just flying away with this race. 22 laps to go. Still a long way left to decide this one from Charlotte Motor Speedway. Presley Sora, a nice pass on Corey Heim. We expected that 11 to inch a little bit closer to Kennan, but starting to prove the other way now. Heim is pushing his car a little bit. Sora is starting to pull away, so the Indiana driver is going to try and get himself away from that 11 and be in his own lead for a while. And again, strategy is not going to be at the forefront as we watch, what is that, 3 wide around the top 15? Almost contact with Colin Fern and Taylor Burris on the backstretch.
And Colin Fern, he's gonna be doing everything he can to live up for his called shot that he made last week when he was on the broadcast. He said he's gonna win this thing, and he had a solid car at some point in the night. It's real close into the dogleg there at Charlotte, but Colin's got some ground to make up if he's gonna live up to the promise that he was gonna win this weekend here at Charlotte.
I think we're gonna dog on him on that for the rest of the season.
Absolutely, we're not.
He's gonna win. He's not winning right now. And just a little fun and joke, but the 28 car, Landon Polinsky, he's going to come in from 23rd. This is a rather interesting call here, but for the moment, I think everyone else is going to stay out. I think that's just an odd call there, but these guys are approaching 32 laps in their stint, so we're not sure whether we are expecting one more stop for these guys, Darren. Going to be interesting if they do have to come down one more time, because we saw just how much that pit strategy alone, for the first time, shaked up the field, rather. So it's going to be unique to see how it plays out this time by, if it does.
Well, I'm basing the pit strategy off of what Ray Richard told us when we interviewed him in Sim. So he said everybody was good to go. I'm going to go with that at this point. And if we start seeing pit stops, we'll see pit stops. But somebody pitting out of 23rd, it could be just a situation of them wanting to practice that pit stop. They could be having an issue on the car. At 23rd, you might just be looking to put a different tune on the car and try to make some speed here in these last 20 laps. Do want to call attention, though, if we have the time, though, to Houff. What a weird night for him. He led practice early on, didn't qualify all too well. was able to run up into the top 2 at one point there during that long green flag run, I believe. And then has just kind of fallen back and is running in the latter half of the top 10 all night long. Not making great speed, currently running 8th. But I guess overall a solid night, but we've seen flashes of brilliance, I guess, out of the 9 through practice and the race tonight. And here's we get down to the nitty gritty, as he's sponsored by Grit. Just kind of a weird, frustrating night for the 9.
But I'm not sure if I would call it frustrating 100% though, because if there's anything that we've seen out of Half is that he's consistent. Daytona last week, where did he finish? He finished 8th. He's 8th right now on the racetrack. So pair of 8th place finishes, maybe, but he's gonna get a chance on Presley Sora here for 7. So maybe this is gonna be +1. Yes, it is. Sora, it looks like quick success on Corey Heim has turned into some fall off here later in the run. So Heim gets the spot back. He settles in a P6. 7th will go to Brandon Half, and he will have a chance at Heim before this is all said and done. Nick Olson and Max Kennan, they are going door to door for what's going to be 4th as we look further back. This is Dylan Connolly in the number 95, who's currently 15th.
And as Kennan and Olson go side by side, keep swapping positions. And again, let's give a shout out to Corey Heim. We know he's the pro in the field, but battling back from hitting the 3rd turn wall, getting wrapped up in a caution early on in the going. Really solid recovery from him, running 6th. I know he was really the favorite going in, the pole sitter for this evening, but a really solid rebound for Heim in the 11 is he's looking to crack into the top 5, and who knows, with a caution and a little bit of strategy, what we could see out of him over the next 14 laps. Solid recovery though for the 11.
100%. It's a far cry from the last time we were out here at Charlotte with the Xfinity cars, where he straight up dominated the field and took that one away convincingly. Tonight it hasn't been the case, but Heim still with a great one this evening that he can write home about and then go around next week, or rather 2 weeks from now, from the Super Speedway Series at Atlanta for the next Gen 4 race at Chicagoland Speedway. So the entire field running mostly single file. You've got some battles here and there. This is Adam Boyles leading a train of 3, DJ Cummings and Dylan Connolly in the number 95 machine. All 3 of them running quite well despite where they've been over this race. Dylan Connolly, by the way, Darren, had an internet connectivity issue, took him out of the server and around qualifying just before the race. And what a way it's been for the 95 to come out back at it again with the Alpha Prime colors on his Camaro this evening.
Yeah, I guess everybody's kind of dealing with storms all up and down the East Coast tonight. I'm in Pennsylvania, and the lights have been flashing, and there's been thunder shaking the house, but we've maintained connectivity all night long. But, we joked earlier that, there are no weather delays, but hey, a guy could just disappear if his internet fails, but at least out front, we have not seen any issues, connectivity issues or otherwise, for James Bickford as he continues to maintain that 1-second lead over Chase Gabriel.
Oh, we hope not. We hope the drivers don't back out of this race just because of the weather that's going on around. Hopefully it doesn't take them out of the race. And obviously we're hoping that everyone stays safe. We've seen some severe weather tear through parts of the Midwest and some of the South come through. I know here in Florida we've seen some nasty weather. I know out in North Carolina they're experiencing some tough weather too. All over the country we've seen a lot of bad weather go out everywhere. So hopefully we don't see it get worse for the drivers out on track tonight and us in the broadcast team. And hopefully we can bring you the end of this Next Level Racing 250 without any issues. Ronnie Osmer has suffered a little bit through this race, but he's running the very top 10 run for him, sliding through 1 and 2. And he's got a shot at Presley Sora, who's holding on to 9th. Boy, Sora has fallen off on his tires.
Yeah, he looked like he smoked those tires, and let's hope he doesn't cord them down here at the very end. But again, shout out to Ronnie Osmer. Great days of Thunder posters on the wall. Great sim setup that he's been rocking all night long. And he's had his issues, but he's battled through them. I know he was in the wall at a couple points tonight. Was up into the top 3 when he did scrape the wall for the first time, but battle back into the top 10 here on Monday Night Racing. A great run. And another guy with a great run who's battled adversity all night long is Matt Stolneck. He's been in the wall in qualifying. He's been spun around in the race, and he is continuing to battle here through the late stages. Just outside the top 10, looks like he's running 11th at this point.
Can't take the fight out of him, and that's easily good enough to get you to a finish in this race as we approach the final 8 laps here from Concord, North Carolina. Sora and Osmer continue to tally at it for their spot. That's going to be 9th as Stallneck finds pressure from Colin Fern in the 96. The FRS Racing Chevrolet dives it to the inside on the 41. And will Colin Fern have that spot? Answer is yes before split second. Sora checking up in the middle of these guys. And it's 3-way fight for the spot. Bring in 3 more with Adam Boyles leading a group.
Boy, and this is what James Bickford does not want to see. He's saying, guys, just hold it straight, maintain your position as one's on the wall, going into 1. I don't know who that is, one of the white race cars tonight, but James Bickford's just wanted to go green from here on out as he continues to maintain a 1-second lead. That 1-second lead he's maintained really for this entire last tire run over Cabry in second.
Car on the wall, that was the 28 of Landon Polinsky. Sora's loose out of 4. And we're going to question how long it will take before those tires officially rip off because he's slowing down lap by lap. He got round Corey Heim for 6 and has since fallen through the field. He just dropped the hammer on it. 41 of Stallneck right in front of Fern. Boy, that's close. And Bickford does not want to see a caution out right now. Darren, you said it.
No, not at all. Like, this is pretty much settled at this point, but Cabry's actually closing in at this point. He's chopped 2/10 of a second off of Bickford's lead, and that's all that anybody would need at this point. But 5 to go at the line. Bickford continues to lead. Presley Sora trying to hang on. Will we make it caution-free over these next 5 laps?
And the biggest thing we noticed there about Cabry's run to the front, where you pointed it out, Darren, is that Cabry was almost 3/10 faster than Bickford.
It's within half a second.
Lap by. He is closing in at a rapid rate now that we're deep into this run at approximately 46 laps. The question is, does Cabry have enough in the tank to get through?
Man, Cabry has been 1 second back this entire run, and within the last 2 laps, he's shaved, almost a second off? 7/10 at least, and he is in the draft right now. He can smell the exhaust coming off James Bickford at this point. Coming to the line with 3 to go, and Cabry is closing.
Cabry's looking for his first MNR win since the super late models at Richmond in season 6, January 9th of 2023. This 39 car is catching slowly on that 29, but it's about how much time he has left. It looks like we will get to lap 167 before the 2-hour limit officially kicks in. And here's Bickford's rear bumper look. That's gotta be scary, seeing the Florida native pounce right behind you.
Well, it's a balance, too. Are we seeing James Bickford just mind his manners and keep the car under him over these last 3 laps? Or are we seeing a charge out of Cabry that could get him the checkered flag? The lead maintains right now for Bickford at about a half a second. And it looks like everything is kind of stabilized out at this point. But with 2 to go, it's really anybody's game, and only 0.3 of a second separating the top 2.
And that's a solid response by Bickford. Last time, 32.163. Cabry at a 32.175. That could be enough for Bickford to keep the 39 at bay. And out of turn 4, Bickford sees the white flag from Charlotte.
Boy, Cabry's not going to let it go. He's walking that just a little bit sideways coming out of 4. He's digging for all he's got. Bailey Turner now in 3rd place, but it's all James Bickford out front by half second.
There's going to be one last chance for Chase Cabry in 3 and 4 to get around Bickford, but the gap seems too large to overcome. Into the final 2 corners from Charlotte Motor Speedway, James Bickford is going to go 2 in a row in the Monday Night Racing Summer Series presented by Mach10 Digital, and Bickford wins the Next Level Racing 250.
Incredible. Last week, I wouldn't call it a fluke, but he popped up right at the very end to take the checkered flag in Daytona. This week, a completely different story. James Bickford dominates the last 2/3 of the race to take the checkered flag in Charlotte. Great run for the 29.
And Bickford was out of gas, Darren, on the front straightaway. He was sputtering and went over the radio, said, "I ran out." That was the difference. Wow. He gets to the line first. Cabry was closing in rapidly, so I'm not sure we're going to have a full celebration from Bickford. He wins on fuel strategy, though, and Bickford goes 2 in a row for the first time in his MNR Series career.
That's incredible. I did not realize that the fuel mileage was that close for these guys, and that's probably why we saw the gap close within 2 half-second within those last 5 laps. Regardless, though, if you win it on fumes or with a full tank of fuel, you still take the checkered flag, and James Bickford's going home with it tonight.
So Bickford is parked on the apron, and that will do it here from Charlotte Motor Speedway. A great finish after 167 laps. We'll take a short break, and we will come back with post-race coverage right here on Podium Esports.
Request permission to engage with the test conducted smash. Over.
Mach 10. Let's give Mach 10.
You're cleared for takeoff.
FrontStretch.com, providing up-to-date news, analysis, and commentary on all the latest in the world of motorsports. Check out Front Stretch YouTube page for post-race content after the checkered flag waves for most NASCAR events, giving you up-close interviews with your favorite drivers and the stories that matter each weekend. For the best seat of the track and the best view on the web, visit FrontStretch.com.
167 laps complete. We close out the Next Level Racing 250 here from Charlotte, the first race of the Gen 4 schedule on the MNR Summer Series presented by Mach10 Digital. James Bickford runs out of fuel right at the start-finish line, but he holds on by 0.2 of a second to win over Chase Cabre. So Bickford goes 2 in a row in the Summer Series this year. Bailey Turner with a consistent run to the end. He closes out the top 3. Nick Olsen strong all night long in that Grit Esports Chevrolet. He is 4th at the checkered flag. Max Kennan, a great race as well. He closes this one out in the top 5. Brandon Houck, who will be on our Front Stretch post-race show later this evening, he finishes in 6th. Corey Heim to come home in 7th after starting on pole. Ronnie Osmer in the 55. Great run for him in 8th. The same goes for Rocky Hartpence. Started 24th, ends in 9th. And rounding out your top 10, Darren Denman, the 96 of Colin Fern.
Yeah, and getting back to a couple guys that had rough nights. DJ Cummins in 11th. Presley Sora in the 98, coming home 12th. Boyles in the 220, he's 13th. Connolly in 14th, and marching down through the rest of the top 20. Matt Stolnick with a great night all night long, a frustrating night. He's going to end up 16th after all his struggles throughout qualifying and all night long. And then Ray Richard rounding out the top 20 in the 57. We talked to him a little bit earlier, running in the top 10 at one point. A solid top 20 run for him.
21st goes to Francis Pelletier. He's the last driver to end on the lead lap. Mark Rabilis is the first car 1 lap down in 22nd. Landon Polinsky is 23rd at the checkered flag. Matt Alberson is 24th. 25th to the 4 car of Brett Baldeck. Joseph Gregory comes home in 26th. 4 laps down. Art Reimer is 27th, 28th to Mike Clay, 29th to Dakota Curtis, and rounding out your top 30 is the number 27 of Michael Massey, who went over on his lid. Cole Cabre left this race rather early from the lead out of turn 2. He is 31st at the end. Gary Sexton was back and forth with a battle with connectivity. He ends up 32nd. 33rd goes to Davey Hazard in the number 75. Mario Melendez, strong start early, but then gets flipped over on his lid out of this race. He is 34th, and league owner Ford Martin in the 07 comes home in 35th after being disqualified. Let's head to Victory Circle and catch up with the 29 of James Bickford. Well, James, welcome back again. Last week we talked to you. You won the race from Daytona over Dale Earnhardt in a nail biter. Tonight it's a little more convincing, but you win here from Charlotte. Talk us through, though, as you come across the line, you're sputtering on fuel. Give us that perspective.
Man, that was the most insane race I've been a part of here on iRacing. I had my dad, Tom Bickford. I had my spotter, Matt Scott, and we were all trying to lock in and figure out what we needed to do. After that last run before we had to fuel save, I knew we had the speed to do it, but that caution just put it right on the edge of being able to make it or not. After doing the calculations, I just was trying to match Chase Cabry's speed behind me. Yep. He would make up, 1.2. I'd get up to 1.2, then back out to 0.8, and he kept pushing. And I was just in the green room with him, and he was talking about he didn't even know he had to save. So I was having to deal with that as well, but ended up getting the win out of it, and I was ecstatic.
And that must have been stressful there, where you're saving, Chase Cabry's right on your tail. But somehow you end up getting this win. And this has to be big for you. I mean, next gen win at the Super Speedway last week at Daytona. I mean, that felt good when you joined us in the broadcast booth. Tonight, though, with a very different style of racing, is the satisfaction the same or greater based on the race we had this evening compared to last week?
Hey, man, I love all my wins, but some are a little bit better than others. Tonight just happened to be one where not only did all of my team and the Charlotte Phoenix group did we put together a good race, but at the end of the day, we did what we needed to do on strategy, and everything tied together. It just felt like a really, really good race. And I guess you did things right when you're running out of field going into the tri-oval. So it was in a quad oval. It was absolutely amazing, though. I had a ton of fun. It was a blast, and I hope all the fans enjoyed it too.
I believe you're the first driver since Garrett Smithley back in season 3 to win MNR races 2 times in a row. Actually, never mind. Gabe Wood, same season though, season 3. So it's been quite a while. And James, you pick up your 3rd overall MNR win, 2 of them in the summer series. So now we get to take a week off. We go back to Super Speedway racing at Atlanta. Are you looking at 3 in a row? Are we going to try and make it a consecutive James Bickford victory for both series?
Hey, my objective every race is to come in and win all of them. But yeah, I'm super looking forward to the next race at the new Atlanta Speedway, back in the next gen cars, and hope everybody tunes in again. We'll keep putting on a great show for the fans here. But shout out again to Next Level Racing and Charlotte Phoenix for helping me out. I mentioned it last week, but I get to mention it again. Wouldn't be competitive without this Next Level Racing rig, and tune into the Coke Series races. But appreciate Tom Bickford, my spot and my spotter Matt Scott. So appreciate it, guys.
Hey, we certainly appreciate the time as always. And James, congratulations on the win from Charlotte. Next Level Racing car wins the Next Level Racing 250. Can't get better than that. Have a happy and safe July 4th weekend, and we'll see you at Atlanta in a couple of weeks.
Thank you. You sir too.
So James Bickford in the 29 for Charlotte Phoenix goes 2 in a row here in the MNR Summer Series presented by Mach10 Digital. Darren Denman, you're caught up with the driver who comes home in second. That's the 39 of Chase Cabry.
Chase Cabry, man, what a race. We thought you had a chance there at the very end, man. Tell us about how you were pushing the leaders there at the very end. And there's a rumor going around. You didn't even know you were close on fuel?
Well, first of all, if I got to start out by apologizing to Nick Olson. Earlier in the race, I got into him, and I told him that I honestly thought it was netcode. But I went back and watched it, and I just misjudged it that bad. So my apologies goes out to him. Glad his car was okay, and I got the worst end of it. But yeah, no, towards the end, we were going, and I didn't know. Like when we were under caution, I normally I just go to neutral and shut the car off, and then fire back up, and like just to save fuel. And for whatever reason, I was just sitting on my phone under caution. And we go back green, I started looking down, and I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna be like 4 laps short. And then over the course of the run, I knew like our pace was gonna slow down, less throttle time, so I would be okay. And then once 10 to go came, I kept looking down, and I was like half a lap to a lap short. So I just tried to. I knew that he was saving too, based off the way like I would just run down, like I could closed the gap like 2 seconds within, or like 2/10 within one straightaway. So I knew that he was saving as well. And so yeah, I just tried to push him and try to kept speeding his pace up while trying to also hold mine, to try to force him to run out. And he did end up running out. It wasn't my doing, but he did run out right at the first dog stripe. The first dog leg right before the stripe, and I ended up running out at the stripe. But yeah, man, it was a great race. I know a lot of people say a lot of things about this league, but that was a huge turnaround from last week. I thought it was really fun, and I'm really happy to see the race go that well.
Yeah, it went really well for you. And Darren, I heard you were coming in and out, but you're back in?
I'm back in right now as it starts to downpour in Pennsylvania. So fun weather up and down the East Coast all night long. Chase, though, great race, man. Fantastic finish in the runner-up position. And we look forward to having you back here in the near future on Monday Night Racing, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
So that is Chase Cabry, driver number 39, who comes home in second. We've had the story about fuel saving to the finish. We'll bring in the driver who comes home in third. That is the number 5 of Bailey Turner. And Bailey, out of the top 3 tonight, you're the driver who started furthest back in the field, 16th at the drop of the green, 3rd place here from Charlotte. Let's first talk about fuel strategy at the end. Did you feel you were confident whether you were going to make it or not, or was it still up in the air all the way to the finish?
Yeah, no, I had been saving. My like habit anytime I'm in iRacing is anytime a caution comes out, I'm shutting the car off and I'm saving fuel. So yeah, I had plenty. I'd saved a little bit there, but probably maybe a half a lap or a lap of fuel was all I really needed to save. I know a lot of these other guys were having to save, 2-3 laps or whatever it was. So I was in a pretty good position, just like you said, kind of buried track position wise all day. Had a little damage from getting into Presley early in the race, and kind of just fought my way back all from that, and finally got up there. And I think if I had that track position and I was behind those two earlier in the run, I think I would have had a shot at him there, because I think I caught Bigford by 2 or 3 seconds there at the end of the run. So unfortunate. I had about 10 laps of practice, got off work and rushed home, and I think looking back, I think I had 10 laps. So finally had a feel for the car about halfway through and started really working my way to the front and felt really good about my chances. Just came up a little bit short.
Hey, I imagine 3rd place finish from Charlotte, 10 laps of practice before is not bad at all. I think you had it already knocked down as you kept learning throughout the race. And let's talk about this Gen 4 car and how tough it is to drive. First of all, I want to say, beautiful paint scheme, by the way. We love the colors. They're on your Chevrolet this evening. But, I mean, the difference between Super Speedway Series last week and Gen 4 Series this week, what's your take on it?
It's just nice to actually, have to feather the throttle a little bit. I feel like, to the detriment of MNR in the past, we've done a lot of drafting and plate kind of racing where, you end up having everybody stacked up on top of each other. And yeah, if you couldn't tell, there's a lot of egos in this league and guys don't like to give each other a break. So lots of wrecks and things like that in the past. And even last week, you saw how many wrecks there were. So it was nice just to get into a car where this field can get spread out, or really actually having to drive it. And there is a little bit of leeway as far as throttle control in these cars, and you can push it a little harder than, like, say, a next gen, or if you step over that edge, the car's gone. So yeah, this was I love the car track combo, and hopefully we can keep this car going forward in the next season of MNR.
Well, a great run here tonight from Charlotte Motor Speedway. We take a week off, but we return at Atlanta Motor Speedway in the Super Speedway side of things. Are there any expectations for that and your performance moving forward throughout the summer series overall?
Yeah, I'll actually be gone that week, unfortunately, so won't be able to do that one. But loving the start I had, leading all the way to the white flag into turn 2 of the last lap last week, and running top 3 this week. I think finally, when I'm not getting wrecked every week in MNR, I'm putting together these runs, and if you keep putting yourself up front, the win's got to come at some point. So looking forward to it. Real fun racing with guys like Chase and Presley and, Bigford and all these guys up front. A lot of speed up front. You got to learn a little bit racing with these guys where they, have that little extra bit. And it definitely helps in the long run.
Knocking on the door, no doubt, for a first ever MNR win. Bailey, on behalf of our entire crew at Podium Esports, congratulations on the podium finish here from Charlotte Motor Speedway. We know you're not going to be a part of the race on July 10th, but we wish you a safe and happy 4th of July weekend, and hopefully we'll see you soon in the MNR Summer Series.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
So Bailey Turner in the 5 car comes home inside the top 3 here from Concord, North Carolina. Darren, let's wrap things up before we send it over to the front stretch post-race show with Michael Massey and Brandon Houff. Severe start in contrast between last week at Daytona, tonight from Charlotte. And you were harping on it. We saw strategy, chaos, battles for position, and then that fuel strategy run at the end. But James Bickford, despite the style of racing, 2 in a row, unbelievable.
Yeah, incredible racing all night long, and it really was an incredible race across the board. We really saw it all. We saw the strategy. We saw the fuel mileage at the end that we weren't really even tracking on. Some incredible crashes, just realistic racing throughout the night. And as Turner just said, it's great to see some actual racing take place, some throttle control, and just a great race from top to bottom, start to finish. And congratulations to James Bickford, man. It's not easy to win one of these things, and he's now won back-to-back in 2 very different tracks, 2 very different styles of racing and race car. And it's just good to see how good he is here on Monday Night Racing.
Second straight win for Charlotte Phoenix in this MNR Summer Series presented by Mach10 Digital. We do not return next Monday night. Of course, we will take 4th of July weekend off, although 4th of July is technically on a Tuesday, but we will not race Monday night. We'll return on July 10th at Atlanta Motor Speedway, the new Super Speedway configuration with the next-gen cars. That's race 2 of the Super Speedway schedule. But if you want more Gen 4 action and have that fixed for it, we'll be back the week after on July 17th, and we'll be over in Joliet, Illinois at Chicagoland Speedway. Here's a look at our MNR Summer Series schedule. This is what to expect, and it just says all the way at the bottom right, July 3rd is a bye week, so we will not go racing on Monday night next week, but we'll be back in 2 weeks' time. James Bickford wins the Next Level Racing 250 from the Charlotte Motor Speedway here in the first race of the Gen 4 Series. For Ford Martin and everyone at Monday Night Racing, Paul Sutton and Michael Hall in race control. For Gary Sexton and John Theodore at Podium Esports. For our camera builder, Dougie Beard. Our overlay builder, Michael Hall. For Cam and Arbanon on Podium Esports social media. And for our crew on the broadcast tonight, our producer, Ryan Bauer. And for my colleague in the booth, Darren Denman, my name is Kenneth Bueno. Thank you so much for watching our coverage from Charlotte. We'll turn it over to the front stretch post-race show with Michael Massey and Brandon Houff. Michael, take it away.
Mike, I think we might have lost him. He's a little frozen. Anyway, well, welcome to the Front Stretch Post-Race Show. I'm Brandon Houff, and you saw Michael Massey there. Might have lost connection, I'm not sure. But yeah, so I guess I'll take over here a little bit. Yeah, the race tonight for me, I guess I'll talk about mine a little bit. I finished 6th. It wasn't easy out there. I said right after the race, that was a very difficult last run. I think it was about a 47 lap run, I think. But yeah, it was a very difficult 6th place finish. Oh, I think we got Mike back. Do we have you, Mike?
You see me?
There you go. There you are.
You hear me, Brandon?
I hear you. Hello, can you hear me? Oh, we've lost him again. It's part of it. Technical difficulties. We'll get him back. I know Mike had a rough race tonight. We'll let him talk about it when he comes back. But yeah, I'll just say this was a fun race to do. Very good track car combo. I know we talked about it a little bit last week. It was going to be a very difficult car to drive at this track. Charlotte being 2 unique corners. We had a few long runs. That's what I was happy about. Oh, there we go. I think you're good. Mike, can you hear me? Hello. Can you hear me? We are losing him. I think no, we lost him. Unfortunately, Mike is having a few technical difficulties right now, but I was gonna ask him what his perspective was, because I I started 18th and kind of drove to the front. He, I know, had a little trouble in qualifying, and we wanted to talk about the single car qualifying that we had tonight, which was really cool in my opinion. But I wanted to get his opinion on it. I know he had a little bit of trouble. I did myself, but overall, it was a really cool procedure we had, and I know, at least for me, I hope we see more of it in the future. But if we can ever get Mike here, I'd like to ask him about it. We do have a few guests lined up tonight, though. I know we're gonna have Ronnie Osmer on. I believe he finished 8th, and then we are gonna have Nick Olson, who got a solid top 5. So I know both of them should be happy with their race. So yeah. But yeah, it was a fun race out there tonight. Yeah. I'm just staring I'm just kind of laughing here because I'm staring at Mike's frozen camera. And I don't know what to make of it. Maybe we can get a guest in here and I can interview them while Mike gets his camera figured out. Let's get Olson. And we have word. I have gotten word from Michael Massey that his internet has died. He's trying to join, but we have a 4th place finisher, Nick Olson. I know. He's so disgusted. I'm disgusted. I had to look at his bumper for about 150 laps tonight.
I don't mind that as much.
No, I do, because I was disappointed in myself. No, I'm kidding. Now Nick got 4th tonight. I know for me, Nick, it was difficult, but you qualified up front. You ran up front. You had that little mishap, but talk about how it went overall.
Yeah, I mean, what a night for the Grit Marketing car. I know y'all didn't see the Grit Marketing car tonight, but
I did.
She looked beautiful out there. We'll have to post a video later, but we got away with one with the incident with the 39 about halfway through. We had scrapped real hard and actually got the lead from him. Really great racing, and hopefully Mike is okay.
I think he's okay. His internet is dead, or might be dead. I don't know, but
I don't know. Is it as dead?
We got him.
His connection is more alive than his race car tonight, unfortunately.
I mean, I didn't make the joke. You don't have to look at me. I did not make the joke. That's all Nick.
Hey, it was on the front stretch, so you're staying on brand.
Exactly. Right there.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a big storm has been hammering here all night. Didn't affect the virtual racetrack, but it certainly has affected my internet. I think it affected a lot of people's internet tonight. So, yeah. I'm actually on my phone's hotspot now, trying this out. So we'll see how this goes.
Well, there we go. At least it's something.
Whatever you guys were talking about before I was so rudely interrupted.
Oh, no, you're good. I mean, you kind of host the show, so,
Yeah, we kind of need the host or one of the co-hosts,
Yeah. Overall, though, really fun night. A+ on Ford and all the admins for putting together the single car qualifying. That started off the night on just, it built the electricity, I felt like, for the race. We had some really good viewership for that, so it was pretty cool to see. We ran a pretty good lap with our car. I think we started 4th, finished 4th by the end. So through all the what that we had to get through to save fuel, and got away with one with the wreck with Cabri. After just taking the lead, I feel like our night could have gone a little bit better if that had not happened. But I mean, it's really hard to be upset with a P4 tonight. And I know, Brandon, you wanted a little bit more in our team car, but really solid finishes for Team Grit tonight, and we'll go to another plate track next week. I kind of wish we went to Gen 4 next week, but we'll get back after it.
You and me both, because I gotta miss the next Gen 4 race. So I can't race these cars for a month. Well, I can, just not in MNR. But you know what I mean.
Yeah. Did you guys already get into what happened to Nick? The incident that I heard he was a little fired up about, but has since cooled down about, or
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
briefly. If Nick wants to explain what,
Yeah, I'll
I
touch
know,
on it real quick.
I know him and Chase were talking about it out off camera, but I'll let you get
Yeah.
into it, Nick.
So essentially, I mean, Cabry and I had raced side by side for it had to have been 5 or 6 laps going for the lead. Really good, clean racing, and he just underestimated how far out the nose of that car goes, and just barely clipped my bumper. And the way these cars are, when you get hit, it picks the rear wheels up immediately, and you're along for the ride. So, you know, I said something in the game, and I was like, you know, come on, man. Like, we raced real hard and clean for 5 laps, and that's how it goes. And he profusely apologized. I know Chase doesn't race like that, so you know, accidents do happen. So we, you know, got away with no damage, which is great. I know some guys weren't so lucky, including Chase, who rebounded for 2nd place. So these cars are capable of taking a hit. That's something that's a perk of them.
Yeah.
But we were lucky to escape with no damage and no issues, and we got away with one. So
I just want to say, my view of that wreck, and I don't know if the broadcast got it.
That's
I
a
was
good one.
literally right behind it. I panicked because I had Nick and Chase side by side, and I see the wreck, and then I think it was Bickford in front of me. I nearly full throttle into Bickford, and I just literally slam on the brake. I
man,
think
I
it
don't
was.
know. Let me
It was,
see.
I think it was about lap, I want to say 60-ish, maybe. I don't remember.
And when you do the math on that one too, as crazy as that sounds, when that happened, I'm pretty sure that was the pass for the win, because Bickford never backed down after that. So
because
that was really the deciding factor in that race. I know it was halfway. I want to give a shout out to the time limit, because we made it, and we made it by a decent amount.
I'm glad.
And let's just say after last week's race, say what you will about last week's race, that's last week, but I wasn't really optimistic that we'd be seeing a checkered flag in regulation. So really happy to see that.
I'm just glad, you know, it's before 11 o'clock. Isn't it awesome to be
for real?
Hey, it's not even 10:30.
No, it's 10:20. Yeah,
you know,
we did this race in a honestly, we did a 200 lap league race about a month ago, and I was like, I mean, that was a wreck fest, and we didn't finish within like the time limit of like 2.5 hours.
Here we go.
I think we're gonna get a replay actually of my wreck avoidance here. I mean, I needed a new pair of pants after this. I'm not gonna lie. So I see this, and then boom, and then here we go, and then I just see this in front of me. I'm on the brakes.
Synchronized spin though. How beautiful is that? Oh, look at that!
I mean, look at this. And I'm hoping not to get killed at this point from the rear.
With like 2 ice skaters.
Oh, y'all can still see my spec map.
And then here, here comes the 10.
Yeah. DJ is gonna come in here and
see if he doesn't hit Chase, he hits me, and I'm done.
Well, DJ had a twofer there. You know.
Yeah.
He got Colin, and then he got Cabry. So I know our buddy wasn't too pleased about that one.
Hey, you know what? In a way, I know Colin's strategy was save fuel, hope everybody else ran out in front of him. So it kind of set up his strategy to the end, because he didn't get back up front after that.
Yeah,
and I know
for sure.
He was just trying to hope that everybody ran out. I know he was about 2 or 3 laps to the good compared to us, but
well, it shows how important qualifying is going to be. It shows how important. I mean, Brandon, you're an exception, because you drove right up through there after you know, an iffy qualifying lap could save at least. That could have been a lot worse given how the opening stages of that race went. So you know, I find with these cars the cream does rise to the top, and the best drivers that can, you know, get up on the wheel, that's who's gonna find their way up there. And you got guys like Max Kennan and obviously Presley, who's a champion, and Corey Heim obviously is a wheelman, and Bailey Turner, my road to glory guy. We made it up together to get in here, and it's nice to see those guys performing.
Yeah, it's just you and Bailey both, Nick, are just like have been so close to winning these races, and they're just like right there in the picture at the finish, and it's like you're overdue a win at this point, right?
I mean, it's hard to not feel that way, but at the same time, you got to give what the field gives you, take what the field gives you, rather. Nothing is a given in these races, whether it be here on the sim, whether that be on Sunday nights, in a cup race. You never know when that late caution is going to fall, and you could lead 399 or 400 laps, and the caution comes out, you pit, everyone stays out, you lose. So you really don't know how it's going to go. We've been lucky to get, I want to say, 4 runner-up finishes in my Monday Night Racing career on the last 2 seasons. So it's tough to not say, oh, let's get one. Like, we're there. But I think these Gen 4 cars provide a really big opportunity to do so. But after last week, I'm feeling like my plate racing needs a little bit of a refresher too. So need to run a little smarter, maybe position myself a little better. We'll grab one of these things.
I think that could be said for the whole field after that race went. So
nothing special.
No, we all were a mess last week, let's face it. But now we get a week off. We got the holiday coming up. So we get a little bit of a refresh, and then we come back with another super speedway race. And then the next Gen 4 race, I believe, is Chicago or Vegas. I forgot which one.
I believe we go to Vegas or Chicago. Yeah, it sounds like one of those.
It's Chicago. Okay. So not quite similar to Charlotte, but another mile and a half. You got to be
California on that schedule too. I mean, that's going to be.
Yeah,
the inception of these cars. That's where if we could just run through it, Atlanta is going to be killer. I think that track races more like a mile and a half than people realize.
Yeah.
You can run in a pack for about 10 or 15 laps, but after that, the tires will start to wear. But it's hard to not feel excited about. Even Talladega, you can really get after it. Old Daytona is going to be fantastic with these next gen cars. Homestead obviously speaks for itself. California speaks for itself. Chicago speaks for itself. Yep. They really did pick the right tracks. I know with the plate tracks, you didn't have much of a choice, but we picked the right places.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Nick, great run tonight, and good job overcoming some adversity to get up there and get a good finish. And wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season. Thanks for coming on, despite being a little upset.
Oh no, we're good. I do want to just shout out Grit Marketing, Kyle Dagger, everybody over there that helps keep the lights on here. I know I got quite the light on behind me, so
a little bright.
A little bright. But I just do want to shout out everything that yeah, right. I do want to shout out.
Said it looked like a nuclear bomb went off.
Yeah, right. Since my car didn't say it much tonight, I do want to shout out Grit for everything that they do, and we're gonna get them a win here soon. I know me and Brandon both want to do that.
Badly.
You're both on the verge. I can see it coming. Well, thanks for joining us, Nick, and see you back next week in MNR.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Nick.
Now we got that's Nick Olson. We got a whole bunch of guests tonight.
Yeah, we got quite a few. Not just who I listed. We got a couple more. We got a couple people who had a career first, a debut.
Yeah, we got the one to lead us off in his MNR debut, a 9th place finish. We got Rocky Hartpence. How you doing, Rocky?
Hey, I'm doing well, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks for coming on. First off, tell us about your race. How did you end up getting the top 10 out there?
I was actually pretty surprised about it. I know you guys host a pretty stout field and stuff, so I didn't know exactly how I would kind of line up. I think practice-wise, I put down maybe like 14th, 15th fastest lap or something like that, and then around... Well, I biffed my Q lap. It was horrible. I don't even want to talk about that. So starting from the back and working my way forward. Honestly, I was just kind of saving my stuff as much as possible during the whole race. And yeah, I kind of got into a couple incidents early on. Just kind of people running a little over their head early. So I had 8X early on, so I was just kind of saving my stuff. Kind of worked my way up. Couple accidents, just kind of held my pace and just tried to race with people as clean as possible. And next thing I know, I was running about 5th or 6th. Then late in the race, I was after the pit stops, the green flag stops, had an incident with a lap car and a car I was passing. I think it was the 07 and the 41, and I kind of got caught up in their mess and ended up with about 45 seconds of damage.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that was especially if after having I felt like I hit the strategy perfect on that long run, and then
I'll give you a little tip real quick. If you see the 07 and the 41 get
away.
Just get out of the way.
Okay. Yeah, well, the thing is, me and the 41 had similar speed, and I just kind of rode behind him, and yeah, every time those two got around, I was just like, oh man, I don't want to get. I mean, I think one of my early incidents, those two got into each other, and it's just like, okay, all right, that's how tonight's gonna go. But ended up working out. I'll take the top 10. That was a stout field. So yeah, I'm super happy with it.
Now, I know I was told in my ear that you were one of the guys that topped off there at the end, or you were better on fuel than some of the guys in front of you. Was that true? You were kind of like 2 or 3 to the good compared to us who were saving up front?
So I made sure that at the end, I had damage to fix, so I pitted on that final pit stop. I made sure to get full fuel, everything like that. I had to finish my repairs and stuff. So I don't know where I had to save at the end because I was clutching it and it actually killed my tires. That's how I ended up losing the 8th position right there on the last lap. Me and I think Ronnie Osmer, who you have I think coming up, he got me at the line. We were literally came side by side right at the line, and he got me there. So yeah, I did have to save a little bit. I probably saved more than I needed to. I think I had an extra lap there at the end. So yeah, it just kind of worked out. I saw Presley just kind of plummet, and I was like, oh, what's going on there? And I know he's super fast. I've raced with him for years. And I was like, oh, that's odd. And so I looked at my fuel and I was like, okay, that's not good. And then, yeah, I clutched it a few times, couple laps, and then I saw people starting to gain on me, and I was like, yeah, I need to go. It's go time. So I ate up the right front at that point and just really had nothing to block to keep the 8th position. But top 10, that's better than what I kind of figured for tonight. So I was really happy with it.
Yeah, for sure. A solid debut. Now, Rocky, tell us your background a little bit. What led to you joining MNR? You said you've been racing for a few years, I guess. How long have you been?
Oh yeah. Racing? So I got into iRacing just before COVID. I think it was 2019. Or I don't know exactly, but I know it was before the COVID uptick. But yeah, I mean, kind of ran my own league for a while. That's how I met Presley in his earlier days too. Me and him, he ran my league quite a bit before he went on to bigger and better things.
That's when he was 5 years old, right?
Yeah, basically, his voice changed.
Pre-adolescent.
I hadn't talked to him for a couple years, and then I heard him. I was like, oh, okay. So that was pretty funny. But yeah, so yeah, I did my own league. I ran a lot of official. It took me a long time to kind of figure it out and get up to speed and stuff. But I've had a lot of fun here lately. I'm more competitive than I had been, so it's been it's been a lot of fun lately and stuff. So, but yeah, no, I used to race NASCAR too when I was really little, and then I grew up and got disposable income and decided, shit, let's try it.
That's how we all are.
Yeah. So
I don't know if that's a good origin story for all of us or a bad origin story?
Yeah, I know.
You know, for us that have been doing this iRacing stuff for like more than 10 years, I don't know what to call it. I don't know if it's a good investment, bad investment. It led me here though, so I mean,
Right?
you know.
If you're having fun, I mean that's all that counts, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. Well, Rocky, it's awesome to have you on. I look forward to seeing what else. Are you doing the super speedways too, or are you just doing the?
No,
Gen
I'm just doing the Gen 4 stuff. I get super speedways. It's fun, but it feels like the same thing over and over again. I really like this Gen 4 on combo at a bunch of different tracks. I'm really looking forward to Chicagoland coming up and stuff. So, yeah, tonight was super encouraging. The racing was really good, really competitive. Had a ton of fun. So I'm gonna stick around for the Gen 4 stuff and keep to that for now. Real life is pretty busy, so I can only run a couple nights a week or every other week. So this kind of fits the schedule.
I hear you there. Well, we look forward to seeing you 2 weeks from now then, and best of luck the rest of the season. Thanks for coming on.
All right, thanks guys. Take care.
Yep. Thanks, Rocky.
See ya.
Rocky Hartpence, P9 in his debut. That's pretty cool. He I know I was around him a couple times tonight. He ran a good race, honestly. So good for him. Top 10.
If anyone watching didn't know his name at the start, I'm sure they know it now. And everybody loves a good Rocky, right?
Yeah, I don't know anybody that doesn't, honestly.
But yeah, we'll just keep rifling them on. We're running through the whole field, pretty much doing like the NBC full field rundown.
The whole top 10 at this point.
Yeah, whole top 10. We had our ninth place finisher, but we're moving back up a spot to our 8th place finisher, Ronnie Osmer. How you doing, Ronnie?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, you. I understand you and Rocky were battling pretty hard there at the end for 8th place. What was it like out there tonight?
It was pretty fun. It's the Gen 4s are a lot of fun to race. It's just when the right setup on them, you can make it into multi-groove racing at times, and it's all about. Of course, it's all about saving tires still, but you can save tires using a throttle, unlike in other cars where you just have to wait on it and everything. So I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's go ahead, Brandon.
No. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. Yeah. How often do you race the Gen 4 on iRacing normally?
I only really do it once a week, really.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always my favorite car to drive on the sim.
Yeah, we've heard. I know for me, it's my favorite, and I know from almost everybody I've heard, it's their favorite. What's your confidence level after tonight? Then you got a top 10. You ran pretty solid all night. You ran near the top 5. I know you were behind me a little bit, up there. So what's your confidence level going forward?
It's feeling pretty well going into this Gen 4 season. Just still got to work on saving tires a little better. I feel like I could save tires to the 2/3 mark, and then that last part I just jump off a cliff. So I got to work on that last third on saving tires and just taking advantage. Just got to keep taking advantage of what everybody gives me.
Sure. Now you joined MNR last year, right? Was that your first season in it?
Yeah.
Season 6. What led you to? How'd you hear about it?
Well, of course, I heard about MNR during COVID and saw it was all people that was working in NASCAR. And at the time, I just started working for our motorsports, and it's like I really want to get in there. But the problem was at the time my sim rig was still in Louisiana, and I had just moved up, and I was in North Carolina for college, and just started working there. So fortunately, during COVID, got to move my sim rig up to the shop and stayed on competitive iRacing, and I kept wanting to get in, and then finally last year when Anthony Alfredo joined the team, I got to make a connection with him. He helped me out getting into the league, and here I am.
Nice. And you're a real racer, right? I mean, you work. You mentioned you used to work for Hour. You're with BJ McLeod Motorsports now. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm currently with BJ McLeod still working on Anthony's car, and yeah, I've been racing since I was 7 years old in go-karts, and have done everything from karts, bandoleros, legends, late models, all the way up to a few ARCA starts.
Now, I know for a lot of people they say iRacing's a tool, you know. So like for you, how much of a tool is it compared? You know, like how much does it transfer for you to real life? Like how much you utilize the sim like throughout the week if you're preparing for a race, whether it's late model, legend, whatever you're racing. How much does it benefit you think?
It helps pretty good bit to learning the tracks and stuff. Is the whole reason I got iRacing in the first place back in 2011 was I was about to go legend car racing the very next year, and so we got the rig. I started practicing with the legends car on iRacing, and I've been using it as a tool ever since.
It's cool.
Yeah, definitely a great resource for sure. Well, Ronnie, it's great having you on, and good run tonight. I think you really turned some heads out there with your performance, and yeah, look forward to racing against you the rest of the season.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, and look forward to the rest of the year.
Yep. Thanks, Ronnie. Good run tonight.
Ronnie Asmer.
We've gone through almost the whole top 10. I think we're only missing like I think 5th, 7th, and 10th. I think I don't know, but you know it's good. We got an extended post race tonight. You know we ended early, so this gives us the opportunity to kind of talk more about the race and more to. I believe we have one more interview though. Is that correct, Dylan Connolly?
Yep.
If you want.
You got a solid finish tonight, yeah.
Yeah. It started off pretty bad, you know, when they finished the drivers' meeting and goes to grid. And, oh yeah, got no internet. So yeah, that was fun. And I'm like, oh crap. So I had to think back, like in the drivers' meeting. I'm like, yeah, I'll get all those laps back. So I was like, there's gonna be a caution, so I wasn't too worried. But it was a lot of fun.
You're welcome for the caution, by the way. But no, okay, so that was you. I saw it was like lap 1 or 2 pulling out pit road.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah, I think I started 3 laps down. Yeah, it was. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna be like 6 laps down. It's gonna be a long night. Then I remembered, oh, I'll get those back because it was equipment failure. So yeah, that was fun. I really liked that car.
Yeah, what was your like I guess confidence level going into tonight? Because it was your first MNR race, you know, in the Gen 4. Well, all our first races in MNR for the Gen 4. But with the field that we have here, you know, what was your confidence like?
Well, I come into it and I was like, I probably was one of the few guys that had experience in this car at this track because I ran it 7-8 times when it went official about 6 weeks ago, and it was a handful, but it was a blast. But it kind of went how those official races go. You know, it kind of starts off stupid and then it gets really good and there's a long green flag run and it just gets to go faster. You got to go slower. And that was exactly what happened. Cause I think after the last set of pit stops, I was 24th and I was fighting. I finished 14th. So as you know, every 5-10 laps, I'd pick a car off. I'd pick another car off. I'd see a guy almost tear down the wall, burn it up his right rear, and I'm like, I'm just waiting because the hardest thing to do in this car is not overdrive it. You know, like if you're side by side with someone or if you're catching someone, it's real easy to just stand on the throttle or have a bad exit. But if you have one bad exit, then that messes up the next 20 laps. I mean, if you burn up the right rear once pretty bad or the right front, it's hard to balance that back out.
Yeah. We've heard from our stat guy, Brian Bauer. You moved up 13 spots, plus 13 on the night. So
and a 0x.
Well, there you go. Even better.
That was rare. Yeah, that's
a clean race.
I was like one of 4 or 5 people, that actually ran all the laps and finished with a 0x. Brandon, I think you were one too.
I think I was, honestly. I know I got into somebody, but I think it was a 0x.
I don't even think I hit anybody. I scraped the wall, arcing it into turn 1 like with 30 to go, but it wasn't anything bad. That was the first time I think that was the only 0x that I had all night because the restarts, I was far back enough usually where they were clean, and then the ones that weren't clean, I was usually ahead of whatever was going on. So it was a solid race. I knew that the talent level is pretty high, and there's a big, what's the word without me sounding like a jerk? There's a big talent gap between a lot of people. There's guys that are, actual race car drivers like Ronnie is. Collins, he's good enough to be an actual race car driver. I think he had some, I think he's done some racing before, but there's a lot of dudes that have a big racing background. And then there's guys that just got into iRacing that might be a tire guy for a guy in the Xfinity series or whatever it may be. But there's a big, it's not really, it's do what?
The host of a post-race show.
Yeah.
Or the host of a post-race show. Yeah, that too. But there's an eclectic buffet of personalities of Monday Night Racing. So that's the one thing I've always enjoyed. Now, oddly enough, I just signed up for both. So I was going to do this and the super speedways. I feel more confident on super speedways because, the next 2 weeks official races are going to 87s at Daytona and then everything's in Atlanta. So that's a lot of stuff that is more my forte. But if it's something where you actually have to drive it and there's, you have to take care of stuff, that I can succeed. I'm not going to go win you the race more than likely in a setting like this, but I can finish the race and get a good finish out of it. Because on paper, I qualified 27th. So it's not like I was just killing people. Of course, I did that with one lap in practice. So just with everything I knew, of course, the track conditions were different than they were in official races. But, other than that, it was pretty similar once I got used to it and got back on the lead lap.
Yeah, good rally for sure. Now, how did you hear about this league? How did you get into MNR?
So I have a buddy, George Balfons. He works with Team Alpha. He works with Team Alpha Prime. By the way, shout out Alpha Prime Racing. Big friends with a lot of people there. In fact, there's a good connection with a lot of people there. But I saw George race it. I saw who else? I saw there were a bunch of people racing. I'm like, what is this? Because I was starting to get in. I've sim raced my whole life. There was a little 5-year stretch after I graduated high school in 2013 where I didn't for a while, but I kind of got back into it in 2018, and then I got out of it, and then COVID happened. I'm like, well, heck, I got nothing else to do. So I was gonna get a new computer for work, and I'm like, throw some RAM in this, and play some video games because I'm going to have some time off work. So, and then it's been, it's like I'm 12-year-old me again, getting home from school and just popping in NR 2003 or NASCAR Thunder all over again, except I'm just a big kid now. So,
yeah, that's what we got to remember. Sometimes it's all just for fun, right?
Oh yeah, that's. I mean, I had low expectations in this. If I had got wrecked on lap 1, I'm like, okay, whatever. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Just watching it from afar, and knowing all the guys that are associated with real life racing. Like for a large part of the race, and only because he had damage, I was racing side by side with Corey Heim. I'm like, oh my god, this is Corey Heim. This dude's in the Truck Series winning races, and I'm like, I had to look over, and I think we were 10 or 15 laps away from pitting under green, and I'm like, is that Corey Heim? So I pressed my F3. I'm like, oh my god, I've been racing Corey Heim, and it's just like he must have some damage. So I messaged him because he had damage on the right side from that big wreck, but I couldn't see. His left side was all clean, so that's the only part I saw. And I messaged him. I'm like, do you have a lot of damage? Like, are you basically dead? He's like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. But there's a lot of good people that race in this, and I was like, if I ever get the chance to race in that, I'm gonna take it. So I saw that they were doing the summer series, and I'm like, yeah, let's go for it. Why not? I always like to be tested. Like there's a lot of leagues where I'm that guy that'll, like 50% of them, where I'm that guy people are like, oh my god, what is this guy doing? Like he's slow and in the way. But I've always thought, it's gonna make me better, because if I catch up to that, then I can drive with anyone. So I'm not scared to get my tuchus kicked. Like I could say something else, but I thought I'd be nice.
That's all right.
Corey definitely did have damage, because I looked up at one point and he was restarting behind me, and I looked up again. He's a little further back. He's a little further. I was like, something's got to be wrong.
Once I messaged him, and then
He was racing me by the end.
He messaged me, and then I saw the right side of his car because I think he was about 8 or 9 stalls ahead of me. I'm like, oh crap, there's no right side of his car. Because the right front was destroyed, the right rear was destroyed. I think the number was scratched off. And I'm like, good Lord.
Yeah.
Now, Dylan, go ahead, Mike,
Go ahead,
if you want to ask. All right, I'll do it. We understand you have a pretty cool gig outside of your racing and streaming and all that. You work with high school sports, is that correct?
Oh yeah. I work with the school. I'm basically I'm the fun guy. I'm in charge of new media. I'm an announcer with a bunch of different sports at the school I graduated from. I went to college in the same town, and I'm happy to work for him. But if you hear this suave announcer voice, that's not by accident. I've worked. I've been thankful. I've pretty much worked 3 jobs in my life, and they've never felt like work. The other 2 were working at a radio station, and that doesn't feel like work. So, because it's something I enjoy, and this certainly doesn't feel like work. So the other thing with this is I also have free time until like mid-August. So I'm kind of on about an 80-day weekend, which is fun in my line of work. But yeah, I do that. I also stream twitch.tv/decon. Stream every night now, pretty much. I streamed my point of view tonight. Of course, there wasn't much to watch till about 50 to go, and someone got my chat that's a regular. He's like, are you gonna pass anybody? And I was like, dude, I'm trying. Like, trust me, I'm gonna start passing people. And then 20 laps later, I gained like 6 spots. He's like, okay, you're right.
Yeah, got a tough crowd, huh? Tough crowd.
Oh yeah, well, that's the thing is, I'm never gonna get on here now. The only tracks that I think I always have a shot at are super speedways and short tracks. 1.5 miles, depends on the 1.5 miles. Really good at Las Vegas, Chicagoland, which is on the schedule coming up.
2 weeks ago.
And driving. There's the other thing is a lot of people don't have experience driving the Gen 4. They just think, oh, it's the ARCA car but faster, which it is, but there's more to driving.
A lot more to it. Yep.
Like it's the happy little accident of iRacing. Because I remember, if anybody doesn't know the story about it, the Gen 4 was an accident. Because they had the new build that I think it was not the build that was 2 weeks ago. It was the build before that. It came out week 13, and there's always like an unofficial series like Tube Frame Twister or something like that. And this car, but it was the ARCA car running at just random tracks. Like one night it was Dega. It was unofficial, and then it was like Chicagoland. And I saw this tweet about 5 or 6 o'clock that night, like, nobody needs to tell iRacing what's up with the ARCA car now. Because I got on about 10 o'clock, and I saw about like 30 hosted lobbies with it was the ARCA car then. And I hopped in one. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. So it's a happy little accident. I'm glad that they did it, because if you ever have the chance to run it officially, it's fun. Because it's different than anything that there is on iRacing, because there's a lot of power behind it. But as you go, it's almost like you have no grip, and then you have a lot of grip, and then you just kind of ride that fine line of having grip and not having grip. But it also helps if you don't have grip, because it'll make you faster. But you don't want to have no grip for too long, because then you'll have no grip for the rest of your run.
A lot of grip involved.
Yeah. The one thing that I do wish is that these would go to a road course more. I don't think there was a road course on the schedule, but I think there is officially. But I know the summer series isn't going there, because I think it's Auto Club, Chicagoland, and what was the other track that we're going to? Homestead. Yeah, that was the first track that they went to, and the fun line is up against the wall, but it's not like the fastest line, but it's the fun line, because you're gonna be fine up there. But if you were picking 4 tracks, that's like the first 4. They're all in the top 5. The other one I might have thought would be like a Kansas, even a Nashville. Even I had a lot of fun with these at Dover. So it's just, when you add horsepower, it's a lot of fun. Now plate track, it's the same as the ARCA car. Now I did find out you could kind of bump draft in those, but I wouldn't try it. But it's
drafting an ARCA car gets dicey sometimes.
ARCA gets stupid anyway. I mean, most races officially could get stupid after a while. Now there's more often than not lately they've been really good. Like I think I ran 5 races at Nashville. That's my cat, my co-host hopping in here behind me. Will you shut up? There's like there's about, I can't remember what I was going to say.
We were talking about super speedways.
There's everyone just thinks that the super speedway series is a different animal. I knew that the field was going to be smaller tonight just because there's a lot of people that would shy away from a challenge like that. But there were, 25, if you count me, 25 of the 34 raced last week. Well, I didn't race last week, but I plan on racing every week. But I mean, there's people that'll just specialize in the super speedway series, and there's some that'll just stay in the Gen 4. And then there's a big conglomerate of people that'll just do both. And I think that's a fun combination because the next gen can get fun since they've changed up the draft package. I think 2 builds ago, because it used to be just you're all running the bottom line. You'd have to have 2 people link up perfectly to try to pass anybody. But now at multiple lanes, the top works well, the bottom works well, the middle works well. It just shifts, from run to run.
Yeah, now if we could just get the next gen to do that at super speedways in real life, we'd have something. But,
we would have something.
Well, the other thing is, when we crash, we don't have to worry about getting hurt. I think it can do that. I think it's just, the back of their mind, they're like, yeah, we don't want to miss 4 or 5 weeks with a head injury or, get hurt if something happens. So I think that's what happened. I can't remember which super speedway race it was. They were like, yeah, we don't want to. I think it was Talladega in the fall. And they were like, yeah, we don't want to, because it was a straight parking lot where like the top 5 was Austin Dillon and then 4 cars that usually run outside the top 30. It was like, it was like BJ McLeod finished like 5th.
Mm-hmm.
And BJ McLeod finished 5th. I can't remember.
Cody Ware got a top 5.
Yeah, Cody Ware got a top 5. I mean, hell, it was whoever was behind him. I think it was who was in the 15. I think it was JJ Yaley.
It was Cindric, Yaley.
Yeah, Cindric had damage.
Castle.
So it was like,
Castle.
Landon Castle was up there.
Yep.
So it was like, this is going to be a meme, but I'm here for it. And then Dega, I think they had one. I think they had one wreck. I mean, that was other than if you don't count the stage cautions, but
for sure. Well, it's great having you on, Dylan, and we look forward to having you on more, seeing you race more, and you building off of this strong debut tonight.
I appreciate it, Kai. Thanks to people real quick.
Yeah. Thank you. Everybody you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
I got the floor. All right. Alpha Prime Racing, shout out to those guys. Tommy Joe Martins, David Schildhouse, George Balfons. Every time I go to a race, I'm always around them. I'm not paid by them or anything. I've made a great bond with them every time I've gone, and they've just exponentially grown their program. And the other thing is, if they didn't have bad luck, they'd have no luck, and that's going to turn around here some point. When you do things right and you have good people around you, stuff's going to turn around eventually. It's not going to be just straight cloudy days. I mean, they were rattling off top 20s and even top 10s late, but last year. But now they had the 3rd car. I mean, it's like anything new. They're gonna keep growing, but that's fun to watch. Gavin Newton painted my car. It was a beautiful looking car. It didn't have a scratch on it. He's a guy that he paints cars in the ARCA Menard series. He's got Brayton Laster, John Garrett. He's got 2 other guys that he paints cars for regularly. I think he's had Xfinity paint. He's a talented artist. There it is right there. That's a good looking scheme.
I can agree.
Cole Baker works at iRacing. He gives me good screenshots. I'll text him like, "Hey, can you give me a screen?" He's like, "Oh yeah, sure. Let me just get home from work at iRacing." That's a cool job, by the way. If you ever get a chance to work at iRacing, Coney Setup Shop. Jeff's awesome. Jeff does a lot of great things for the sim racing community, and of course Ford and everyone for letting me come in and race. Feels like I've been racing here for months, and I've been in here for 3 hours, and appreciate you guys putting on this post-race show. This is great. I mean, you can't ask for much more. Podium Esports, always a bang-up job, second to none. I mean, it's them, the actual iRacing people, and even the guys over at FTF who have races. It seems like every night. So there's a lot of good people out there in sim racing, and I think there's I hate to say too much competition, when instead we just need to appreciate all the greatness that is out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, that's Dylan
agree.
Connolly, everyone. Thanks again for coming on, and see you next week.
You bet. Appreciate it, guys.
Yep. Thanks, Dylan.
Yeah.
That was Dylan Connolly. He's a fun guy. I've known Dylan for a while. I used to race NR 2003 with him back when I first started sim racing back in like 2011 or something, or 2010. So, you know, he's been around for a while, and he's a good guy. He's fun. Obviously, he has a lot of knowledge on a lot of things. He's gonna be fun. He's gonna be fun to watch this season. I know that.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Brandon, what we'll go to next is, since we didn't get a chance to talk about our races at the start because somebody in here was having issues.
Somebody, yeah.
I imagine you already educated everyone on how your race went.
Yeah, yeah, I guess you could say that.
Was there anything else you wanted to say about your race that I tell you about my disaster?
I mean, all I'm gonna say is I wish I had more. I wish I didn't have to save fuel that last run, because I think I had something for James, at least on the short run, the first 25, 30 laps. There's my beautiful scheme. Thank you, Luke Strayer. Yep. Thank you, Luke Strayer, for painting that and grip marketing. And I got a front stretch logo there on the wheel well, of course. So, yeah, I wish I had more. I was running second there for a while after that Nick and Chase wreck. I think my pit strategy was a little off. We had that one caution that kind of jumbled everybody back up. I was catching Chase and Max, and then that caution came out. I would have been third, maybe even second if I caught Nick. And then that just kind of killed my track position, and I had to save fuel. And then it led to a 6th place finish. So, you know, all in all, I can't complain, you know. But we will get to your race now, Mike. How did your race go?
Oh, man.
Here we go. Well, got it already.
We were running, what, like 20? It was for like 20th, something like that. Me and Ford Martin. I get a little bit of run. He moved up a little, and that threw me off a little. But then up here, I just got in the marbles too much. Got loose there.
Netcode.
Yeah, I could blame Netcode.
It looks like Netcode, but
I feel like it's not going to be that much damage right here. Like, both of us were going to be okay.
Yeah.
But then, just wait for it.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, and then here we go. We're on our lid.
Yeah.
And we're barrel rolling. We're pulling a Chris Buescher here, except we're on the pavement this time and not the turf. No. I had no idea that happened to you.
Shout out to Jared Haas, by the way, for designing that. He calls it the ARCA paint scheme because it's all the stereotypical ARCA stuff, like a taped up door number and all this like mismatching stuff. And but yeah, so that's the deal. I feel bad for Ford. I've apologized to him many times. I say fortunately, but what gets me off the hook a little is that his power went out soon after, so it didn't matter that I wrecked him. But I think everyone behind us could have checked up a little bit. I get it's tight there on the front stretch. There's nowhere really to run to, and it happened so fast.
Yeah,
but maybe they could have stomped the brake a little bit more.
I heard a few instances where people, like, it was probably one of the first few wrecks. I think maybe in like the first 20 or 25. I heard somebody just completely no lift, 180 miles an hour into a wreck. And then the minute they got into the wreck, they're like, oh, brakes. I don't know who it was, but I mean, unfortunately, we're going to have that. Is it excusable? No, it's not. I know they were on the look for that, though. And I know they got some people for not checking up, but it's unfortunate. Unfortunately, you ended up on your lid, and it was early in the race, too. But
yeah,
you were running solid up to that point, you know?
It was lap 39. So I had to start in the back. I felt like I had a great lap going in qualifying, and then coming out turn 4, I scraped the wall, and then just slid into the it nailed.
Yeah, you almost killed somebody down there on pit road.
I almost hit Bailey Turner.
I was surprised you didn't. I thought you were gonna. Actually,
Yeah.
while we're speaking of qualifying, I want to get your opinion. What's your whole opinion on this whole one lap qualifying thing where we see everybody's lap and everything? Personally, I love it. I think we should do that. I'm not saying for super speedways because it would probably take forever, but I think for Gen 4, certainly something to consider, and maybe even carrying over into the regular season when we reach the fall. But what do you think about it?
Yeah, it's certainly more pressure.
I can agree. Yep.
Everybody's watching you. But it is cool that maybe you're a guy that's runs like 15th to 25th the whole race, and you don't really get that much TV coverage. Just because obviously, nothing against podium, but like they want to focus. Who cares about who's running 15th, right? You want to focus on the people that are players for the win.
Not always. I mean, come on.
But like it's a chance for everybody to get their TV time, get their sponsors some love, some exposure, and then like just to see how they perform under pressure. It gave me a little bit more of a feel of like what I've heard Dale Earnhardt Jr. talk about, where he said like the most nervous he was every week was qualifying because you just know everybody's watching you.
Yeah.
So I liked it. I wonder what the viewers thought. I hope they liked it too. But I certainly hope it's maybe not for super speedways because I feel like it's kind of boring on super speedways.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see it for the rest of the Gen 4 races.
Oh, for sure. I know for me, I was quickest in practice, and I said to myself, I was talking to Nick, I was talking to Colin throughout the race or qualifying, and I'm like, so how's the track? And they're like, oh, it's a little bit grippy. And I'm like, okay, so more than practice? Yeah. Okay, great. I go into the corner on my warm-up lap, and boom, the minute I touch the gas, sideways. And I'm like, well, I lost 5 miles an hour. There we go. I go into the corner, and I just overdrive it like crazy. And I lost like 3 or 4 tenths before I even like had a shot to even think about the pole. And I go into turn 3, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna not wreck it. And I almost wreck it out of 4. And I'm just like, well, this is the worst effort I've ever put in. I still qualified 18th, but I knew it was qualifying. I do like it though. I know the pressure might be more, and I know it might be a little nerve-wracking. And thank God everybody was locked in. I will say that, because if we had go or go home qualifying, and I knew I had to put down a certain lap, I know for me in the past, because I used to be in the Coke Series and all that. In the past, when that was the most nervous I've ever been sim racing, trying to qualify for one of those races when I was go or go home. I'm not going to say I felt that same pressure tonight because I knew I was locked in, but I could tell you, if we have that going forward or in the regular season, like in the fall, I will probably feel it. Maybe not as much, but I feel like it's there. It's not easy when the whole world is watching you or whoever's watching you.
Not at all. I was in the Discord channel with Chase Gabriel tonight, and when you did your lap, he said, "Man, Brandon's doing everything but hold the straight line."
He was right. I literally went into the corner, and I knew as soon as I touched the gas, I'm just like, it's over. I'm like, I'm just gonna try not to wreck at this point. I choked it. I mean, I ran a tenth faster than the field in practice, and I felt a little confident, but.
I thought you were gonna smoke everybody tonight after seeing that. I was like, oh man.
I thought I thought I had a great shot. I got into the race and I drove up to the top 5 pretty quick. And then Bickford started pulling away on that long run, and I'm just like, well, now I got to do something because I knew James was gonna be tough to beat. And turns out he led like the last 100 laps. So
he ran a great race.
He did.
You ran a great race too. It was.
I appreciate that. I tried. I thought it was good. Would have liked more, but hey, I'll take a 6th,
Sure. Yeah. You're just slowly working your way up,
Yeah, got 8th last week in Super Speedway, now 6th.
Maybe a 4th.
4th.
4th is coming.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at what we do have next week. We're back the Super Speedways.
Yeah.
Right.
I believe it's Atlanta.
Yeah, we got Atlanta Motor Speedway, which is now Super Speedway-ish track. So tune in for that, everyone. Brandon, what do you think about that Atlanta track now that it's been converted into track style racing?
So, if we're gonna base this off what it's like on the sim, I have to say it's entertaining quite a bit. I've raced a few next gen races there. Mostly next gen. I ran a truck race there officially. I think I ran an Xfinity race there, but the next gen mostly is what I focused on when I was running that. It's interesting. Tire wear does come into play. I know for the first about 15 laps, that bottom line can kind of hold their own as long as you have help down there. Eventually, the top line will take over. But with the tire wear, I know how iRacing is. The top will wear your tires out more. So it's very tricky because the outside is where you might want to be. But then you got to weigh it out where, hey, I might need to move to the bottom to save some tire. Maybe go back to the top after about 25, 30 laps, you know? And then, you know, it's kind of working the lanes if you can. Kind of like a typical super speedway. But I personally like it on iRacing. Real life, it's okay. I mean, I know, you know, everybody loves Atlanta. Everybody loves the old Atlanta. I was one of them. I'm sure you were one of them. Everybody does. But, you know, I mean, it is what it is now, but, you know, it eventually can get back. I know everybody's kind of said that, but, you know, as for iRacing right now, we got the next gen. It's going to be interesting. I don't know how many people have actually done next gen at New Atlanta. Has MNR raced at the New Atlanta yet? I don't recall.
I want to say we did.
I don't remember.
All the races run together.
I know,
like
right? Yeah.
Last season. Let's just roll with that. We had one last season.
We'll roll with it because, yeah, I don't know, but it's going to be entertaining. I will say that. It's going to be very entertaining.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah. It'll be pack racing. Everybody will have a shot to get in there. By the way, can you hear this thunder? And there's I just saw like in my image there's lightning behind me.
I was gonna say I was looking at your window and I thought I saw lightning. If it wasn't a UFO landing or something, there was a flash of something there. But
it's
yeah,
a miracle I made it through this show.
Yeah, we've been at this for about 45 minutes or something, and we had the little technical difficulty, but we rebounded. We had all our guests. We had a smooth show. We were able to talk about everything. And this is what happens when we don't have 2.5 hour races like last week. Hopefully Atlanta won't go that way because, you know, we're back to super speedway. But, you know, hopefully everybody cleaned up their act. They learned from their mistakes at Daytona.
No fast affairs. No fast affairs.
Yeah. Hope it'll make everybody race smarter. Hopefully.
Okay.
I know for me it will. I'm not going to be as fearless. Yeah. I know that.
I'm just gonna ride. Actually, I won't. I might not be racing next week. I'll be in Chicago for the race. Flying back Monday, so it's all just a matter of.
We're off next week.
Oh yeah,
for the 4th of July. We're back in 2 weeks.
2 weeks from now, everybody tune in. 2 weeks from now, don't try to watch us next week.
We're not gonna be here.
Yeah. Next week's 4th of July. Man, I forgot.
We'll be popping off fireworks.
Yep, little firecracker action. Firecracker 400 back in the day.
Yeah, there we go. I miss it.
Yeah. So, yeah, that about does it for us. Everybody go have a wonderful 4th of July and watch yourselves some NASCAR on the street course this weekend.
Yeah.
So you watch some history, whether it's good or not or bad. And
whatever it is, it's history.
Look for me at the track there. Exactly. Look for me when you're watching on TV. And maybe I'll pop up somewhere in the crowd or something.
Dive into the fountain. You'll get on TV. That Parker was at yesterday.
And then I'll get in jail.
Well, let's not have that happen. I mean, you know. Parker said if he wins, he's going to go in the fountain. So.
Yeah, that could be a new tradition right there.
Could be.
But yeah, 2 weeks from now, Atlanta Super Speedways. Hope you guys will tune in. For Brandon Hoff, I've been Michael Massey. Thanks for joining us.